Chapter 528. There was supposed to be a celebration party after the competition, but Chen Guang thought it was too troublesome. There was no use socializing with these people, so he rejected them without thinking and planned to run away. Although there were still 3 hours until his right hand's concert, Chen Guang intended to head over earlier and act as though he was paying attention to it. However, he was stopped by someone. It was his so-called assistant, Ms. Axian. What? Chen Guang looked at the little loli who was wrapped up tightly in front of him. For some reason, there was a terrifying aura coming from her at that moment. Back then, Axian Qin came to invite him to participate in the amateur darts tournament as a staff member of the Escort Association. Chen Guang and she, who had a unique skill, had a friendly exchange and finally reached a consensus to participate in the tournament. Now that the tournament was over, Chen Guang had won from the amateur darts tournament to the world championship. The ending was satisfactory. Now, Chen Guang felt that he had no value to Axian Qin anymore, so it was time for her to disappear from his side. Although he rarely asked about her motive for staying by his side or who her so-called master was, Chen Guang wasn't a fool. He didn't have to rack his brain to guess that Axian Qin must be from an internal energy sect or family that's related to hidden weapons and darts. Well, it didn't matter whether it was a sect or a family. Chen Guang didn't know much about it. Anyway, people who could use inner force were very cool and had big and hard fists. The power behind her was also a very powerful one. As for why she insisted on participating in the competition, Master Guang said that it was because he was interested in the old man's popularity, so he wanted the old man to help her promote darts. Wrong, it was to be a spokesperson who didn't pay. Otherwise, why would such a capable and outstanding little loli follow him around all day, helping to shoot live broadcasts, help to make videos, help to organize the news on the internet, and even help to post on Weibo? She was a very considerate little assistant, and she didn't ask for a salary. Chen Guang didn't believe that there was such a good thing as a free lunch. Don't tell me it's because of love, I don't believe it. There will be a dinner party later. Brother Chen Guang, come with me. Axian Qin cupped her hands and said while blinking her eyes. Chen Guang took a step back. Please be normal. You're giving me the creeps. Alright, there's a dinner party. Come with me. What? There's a company that wants you to be their spokesperson. I think they have good qualifications, so I accepted the job for you. Axian Qin spread her hands. Endorsement my ass. I'm not interested. How can I waste my precious time on endless endorsements? Chen Guang protested. 5 million a year. All you need to do is shoot a few commercials. You don't need to do any activities. It's practically free. You don't want it. 10 million in total for a 2-year contract. Axian Qin looked at him with a puzzled face. That's quite a lot. I don't think it's a lot. My Weibo account bonus and livestream income add up to 1 or 2 million. Chen Guang expressed his lack of interest. Axian Qin silently crushed the pebble in her hand. The pebble turned into powder and slid down her fingertips. Let's go. Where's the place? We mustn't neglect our esteemed guest. Halfway through the journey, Chen Guang remembered to ask what company it was. It's a delivery company. I think it's called Dragon Gate Express. My friend recommended it. Chen Guang was puzzled. I've never heard of this company. Also, do you have friends? Axian Qin snorted through her nose. That's right. You're so beautiful and lovely. You must have friends all over the world. That's more like it. I'm not very clear about the specific business of their company. You can ask them when you meet them. Axian Qin said indifferently. Chen Guang rolled his eyes. A manager like you makes me a little drunk. On the other hand, Jin Jiang's concert would start at roughly 8 p.m. Chen Guang took a look at the place where they were eating. It was quite close to the workers' sports complex, and it was only 10-odd minutes away on foot. If he rushed over now to meet with Dragon Gate Express, he would be able to finish his meal quickly and make a detour to the workers' sports complex. If he didn't, it would be even more convenient. Actually, he was quite curious. Xan Qin's friend, who knew Internal Force, introduced him to Dragon Gate Express. No matter how he thought about it, it seemed very wuxia. Right, starting from next month, the Escort Association will hold the National Darts League for primary and secondary school students every month. Xan Qin seemed to have remembered something. Chen Guang curled his lips indifferently. That's great. But what does it have to do with me? Because you're the sponsor of the competition. Wait, when did I sponsor it? Just now. Ha. The endorsement fee for Dragon Gate Express. After all this time, I haven't even seen the money, and I've already spent it for you. Chen Guang didn't feel very good. Xan Qin snorted, took out a tablet and placed it in front of him. I've done some research. Currently, the endorsement fee of the top celebrities in the country is about the same as yours. But they have to cooperate with the manufacturers to do a lot of publicity every year. I finally understand. I was just wondering why Dragon Gate Express was so stupid with so much money. After all this time, I'm just a cover. I'm actually giving you money. Xan Qin shook her head. No, you're not a cover. If you hold the competition in your name, the students will be more enthusiastic to sign up. There will also be the annual finals. The annual champion will get your autograph and a few days of closed-door training. Little Xan Qin's foxtail finally showed. That's right. She wanted to use Chen Guang's fame to promote darts in the country. To select talents for her declining Thousand Despair sect. Wait a minute. What's in it for me? I won't get any money, and I have to help you train people. I'm putting in the effort and money, but I don't get any benefits. I'm losing out. Chen Guang's face darkened. Big brother Chen Guang, help me. Please help me. Xan Qin shook Chen Guang's arm. Her unique lowly voice echoed in the car. The driver in the front seat trembled and almost crashed into an electric pole on the side of the road. Oh, my little sweetheart. Chen Guang felt as if he had been electrocuted. You're acting like a spoiled child. The old man can't take it. Forget it, seeing that you are such a beautiful loli, it is not impossible to go up a mountain of swords or plunge into a sea of flames. Okay. Big brother, you're so good to me. Xan Qin leaned on him and hugged his arm tightly. The driver in the front seat felt his hair stand on end. Chen Guang didn't feel anything wrong. He patted Xan Qin's head and said, sigh. If only you were this obedient every day. He didn't know how his sister, Ling Shan, was doing. She would have to go back to Southeast Province for the National College entrance examination next year. It was not easy to get into the top 5 universities in Southeast Province. He would ask her when he got back. If things were not going well, he would spend money to send her to various training classes. In fact, there were some things he didn't tell Xan Qin. He knew that Xan Qin needed his help to promote darts. Just like how billiards became popular in the country, she needed a top international player like Ding Junhui. A top athlete who could win glory for the country in an unpopular sport could effectively increase the influence of an unpopular sport in the country. Just like how Ding Junhui was to billiards, Jing Jie, Yan Zi, and Li Na were to tennis. If Chen Guang participated in an F1 race and became a racing king like Schumacher, many young people in the country would also be interested in F1 racing. This was the effect of a star, and it was also the effect of patriotism. Obviously, Enchanting's plan was to make him a dart star first. Now that she had basically succeeded, the next step was to continue to ferment the influence of this dart star. Then, she would hold the National League tournament in his name. With the help of the star effect and the prize money, she would entice the youths who had nowhere else to put their attention on football and basketball. She would give them another choice and let more talents emerge through the darts league. At that time, Enchanting's Thousand Invincibles sect would get more talents. Although it seemed like Chen Guang didn't gain anything, he would actually gain fame. More and more people liked darts. They didn't know anything about it, but they were addicted to it. Then, as the world's king of darts, his faith value would certainly increase. In addition, his fame would also maintain a steady stream of popularity among primary and middle school students all over the country. It had always been proven that the greater the fame, the more faith he would gain. Chen Guang actually had a lot of benefits, but he couldn't tell them about his faith value. Suddenly, Chen Guang said, "I have a great idea." Enchanting looked at him blankly. "Why?" "I want to set up a school." "A dart school?" Chen Guang shook his head. "Right, Chen International Stunt School." "Ah. I'll teach darts, racing, piano, tower, pencil sharpening, Kirin arm, and pile drivers. I'll teach everything that I can. But no one knows how to sharpen a pencil. Also, what are Kirin arm and pile drivers? Shouldn't they go to Lanxiang to learn excavators?" "That's right. We'll put the last three aside for now. But there will be people who can learn darts, racing, piano, and tower drivers." "That's right, Enchanting, you'll be the first head of the darts department of Right Chin International Stunt School. The monthly champion of the National Darts League for primary and middle school students will be the first batch of darts students." However, this crazy idea only existed in his mind for 30 seconds. It wasn't that he couldn't teach others, but that the time was not ripe yet. Not many normal parents would let their children waste their precious time in his weird school to learn these skills that looked beautiful but couldn't be used to make a living. That would be stupid. It was impossible for Chen Guang to teach others to be as good as him. The previous racing training class had already taught him a painful lesson. About an hour later, the car drove straight into a garden-style clubhouse. As soon as Chen Guang and Enchanting got out of the car, they were welcomed by a group of middle-aged men. Both parties chatted as they ate, and it didn't take long before Chen Guang and Dragon Gate Express came to an agreement and signed the contract at lightning speed. The reason was simple. When Master Guang shook hands with this boss Long, he realized that this guy had inner force too. He was testing him. As expected, Enchanting's so-called friend wasn't an ordinary person either. The scope of business of Dragon Gate Express was also very strange. They almost didn't deal with ordinary people. They were only responsible for escorting some extremely valuable items. For example, the Patek Philippe in his hands might barely qualify for delivery. According to this boss, they could also send nuclear reactors. Chen Guang just thought that he was bragging after drinking too much. People in the pugilistic world were really straightforward. They ate and drank. It was supposed to be a social gathering, but in less than half an hour, everyone had eaten until their stomachs burst. Before they could close the stall, a few MPVs drove up from outside. That's right, it was the commercial shooting team hired by Dragon Gate Express. Dragon Gate Express. Everything will be delivered. 10 minutes later, the most crudely produced commercial in history was announced. Chen Guang only had a few seconds of camera time. He stood in front of the temporary green screen, dressed in an ancient costume, and shouted the advertising slogan to the camera. To be honest, if it wasn't for my good looks, would this commercial really be aired? Chen Guang was dumbfounded. The efficiency was so high that it made one's hair stand on end. It was completely different from his impression of a commercial endorsement. He felt that something was wrong. The commercial director waved his hand casually. "Brother, just believe in my ability. For this scene, I'll squeeze in the special effects in front and back and make it look like a blockbuster. I'm indebted to Boss Long's trust. I won't let everyone down." Boss Long was also very satisfied with the director's honesty. "Good, good. Do your best." Chen Guang patted the director's shoulder sympathetically. "I don't know how to say this, but I can only wish you good luck. If you screw it up, come to Wujing and find me to reshoot. I'm not particularly afraid of trouble." He could see that the director had the same thoughts as him. It was stupid to treat Dragon Gate Express as money. "But you can't be compared to me. I'm the spokesperson that Enchanting pulled over. I have a background and backing. If I screw it up, I'm not afraid of Boss Long's revenge. You're fooling people like this, and you're fooling Boss Long who has inner strength. No matter how I look at you, it won't be long before the grass on your grave grows 3 feet high." But although he was panicking for him, Chen Guang could not say it out loud. The director's confidence was too loud. He could not even take down his stage on the spot. Forget it. Everyone has their own business. Let's go. The money came too quickly and too easily. It was like a dream. In less than 2 hours, he had earned 10 million. Robbing a bank was not as comfortable as robbing a bank. It was like living in a dream. Take care, everyone. It's been a pleasure working with you. See you next time. Boss Long waved at Chen Guang and Enchanting's car and said goodbye enthusiastically. Chen Guang did not react until he sent them off. Enchanting, who was beside him, was already happily flipping through the 10 million in her account. That's right, Boss Long transferred the money to Enchanting. The car could not send Chen Guang to the workers' sports complex. The concert was very popular. There were even rumors on the internet that Jin Shiyue's boyfriend would be there as well, which added to the popularity of the concert. It was so crowded that it was difficult to move even 2 blocks away. Chen Guang decided to get out of the car and run there himself. He asked Enchanting to get in the car and leave. Looking at her happy face, Chen Guang knew that her mind was already on the primary and secondary school league. He was free to go to the concert alone. After taking 2 steps, he shrunk his neck, covered his face, and hid in the crowd. That's right. He saw Lin Jingwei and Gao Ye's group walking leisurely in front of him. If it was only Lin Jingwei, he would have gone up to greet him. But Bai Hua was there too. This was too scary. Chapter 529. Taking out a hat, sunglasses, and mask from his sports bag, Chen Guang hid in the crowd while Lin Jingwei and the others slowly approached the workers' stadium. Gao Ye looked very excited and Lin Jingwei was also beaming with joy. Bai Hua, the third wheel, looked a little absent-minded. From time to time, he would ask Lin Jingwei something, while Lin Jingwei would chat with him helplessly. There were also some people around them who seemed to be Lin Jingwei's high school classmates. They were already very familiar with Gao Ye and were chatting happily. If he hadn't promised Zhang Yage, Chen Guang would have turned around and run away. Although there was a huge difference between him and Qin Yu, if Bai Hua saw any signs of it, he would definitely go all out and fight him. Sister Zhou, I'm already outside the stadium. How do I get in now? I don't have a ticket. After Lin Jingwei and the others got into the crowd, Chen Guang called Jin Jiang and Yu's manager, Sister Zhou. Why are you so late? Sister Zhou's tone was slightly reproachful. I wanted you to interact with Shiyue at the beginning of the competition, but you didn't come. They also didn't allow me to call you to rush you, so this segment was cut off. It's good that it's cut off. Chen Guang let out a long sigh of relief. Although he was already a famous person, interacting with people on the stage of the workers' stadium, which could accommodate tens of thousands of people, made him feel like he had to stammer. He wasn't right Chen anymore. Go to the back door of the stadium and wait there. I'll come out to pick you up. Shiryu and Grace are busy with makeup, so I'm afraid I'll have to neglect you today. Unlike other managers who treated the boyfriends of their female artists as scourges, Sister Zhou quickly recognized her position after she tried to interfere with Jiang Yage's decision and almost went too far. As the saying goes, being in the king's company is like being with a tiger. Jin Jiang and you were usually at ease, but that was only because they hadn't met anyone or anything that they cared about. It was obvious that they cared about their savior, Chen Guang. Sister Zhou was very sensible. After waiting for about 10 minutes, Sister Zhou sneakily poked her head out from the back door. Here. Where will I be watching the concert later? Sister Zhou led Chen Guang inside and said, the VIP area. You can't see anything backstage. Oh. In fact, Chen Guang was looking forward to the backstage, but since he was not allowed to go, then forget it. I've already arranged a seat for you. It's the small bar counter in the first row of the VIP area. There should be some people there who know you. If someone comes up to greet you, make sure to pay attention to what they say. Don't cause trouble for Shiryu, Sister Zhou couldn't help but say before she left. Chen Guang didn't argue with her. They didn't even know who was causing trouble for whom. Just when he sneakily sat down at the bar counter, he suddenly heard two familiar voices talking. Jingwei, no matter what, you have to help me this time. You should understand Big Brother Baihua. I've never been the kind of person who is easily moved outside. In the past, I liked Shiryu because I watched her grow up and treated her like a younger sister. But now, I've really thought it through. My feelings for Shiryu isn't love, it's familial love. You're someone who has a girlfriend now, so you definitely understand the feeling of your heart thumping uncontrollably when you see someone. It's simply too wonderful, too unbelievable. Lin Jingwei said in a muffled voice, Brother Bai, it's not that I don't want to help you, but I've asked her. She really doesn't have that kind of feelings for you. A melon that's forcefully picked won't be sweet. How can you say that? We haven't even understood each other, so how would we know that we're not compatible? How can you be so arbitrary when it comes to relationships? I can't even eat well these days. Bai Hua was furious. Lin Jingwei looked at him quietly, thinking to himself, Brother Bai, you really don't need to understand this. It's just that your genders aren't compatible. That's just how arbitrary it is. Hey, Lin Jingwei, can you help your brother Bai a little? He's so serious, and as a woman, I can understand how he feels. I feel that if Brother Bai really likes Qinyu, even if she doesn't feel anything at the beginning, she can still slowly get to know him better and develop feelings for him. If it really doesn't work out, then we'll talk about it again. At least we won't have any regrets. Gao Ye also added fuel to the fire. However, Chen Guang, who was familiar with the inside story, definitely knew that Gao Ye's words weren't that simple. There was a lot of meaning behind them, and it was worth pondering over. Lin Jingwei silently turned his face to the side, hating a certain someone who left him in a mess and then left. Oh right, Brother Guang said he wanted to come to the concert too. Where is he? Give him a call and ask. Wait, Brother Bai, didn't you say you wanted to see Chen Guang? I didn't dare let you two meet because I was afraid you two would fight. Now that you don't have any feelings for Jin Shiryu, do you still want to see him? He said he would come today. Sometimes, good brothers were used to betray each other and take the blame. Now that Lin Jingwei couldn't take it anymore, he decided to betray the culprit, Chen Guang. Hearing this, Bai Hua really forgot to ask about Qinyu, and his expression became serious. Really? I want to see him, not as Shiryua's suitor, but as her brother. I need to have a good chat with this fellow who cut the queue. Hey, don't fight. Or else I won't make the appointment. Lin Jingwei said loudly. Bai Hua shook his head. Do I look like someone who likes to fight? That's true. Anyway, you can't beat him. I'll make the call now. Lin Jingwei said seriously. You're my little apple. Just when Lin Jingwei made the call, Chen Guang's phone, which was about to run away, rang. Damn it, I forgot to mute it. Chen Guang had already run out of the VIP area, but it was too late. Lin Jingwei pounced on him like a hungry tiger. Brother Guang. Don't move. I'll know it's you even if you turn into ashes. Damn it, are you crazy? Aren't you just making trouble for me? Chen Guang hid the Patek Philippe in his pocket behind Bai Hua and the others. He fiercely turned his head and stared at Lin Jingwei. Because of a woman, we'll end up in a fight to the death. What's more, Jin Shiryue and I aren't that kind of thing. Aren't you harming others? Lin Jingwei put his arm around Chen Guang's shoulder. Don't quibble. You know the situation better than me. Brother Xiao Bai can't fight with you for Jin Shiryue anymore. But seriously, if you don't help me take a bullet, I really won't be able to hold on. Brother Xiao Bai's matter is small, but Gao Ya's matter is big. I have to think of a way to change the topic. As a brother, you have to save me. Seeing that I've put in so much effort to help you, you really can't leave me in the lurch. In the end, Chen Guang was forcibly dragged by Lin Jingwei to their seats in the VIP area. For Jin Shiryue and Jiang Yage's concert, the price of the stage tickets was as high as 400 yuan, and the price of the inner stage tickets was more than 81,000 yuan. As for the VIP seats in the front row, the market price was clearly in the thousands to tens of thousands, and it was the kind that had a price but no supply. To be able to have a table in this position, one had to be rich or noble. When Chen Guang was sitting on the other side, some people noticed him and wanted to come up and say hello to him. But when he was dragged by Lin Jingwei to Bai Hua's direction, those people who were eager to make trouble quieted down. Lin Jingwei's identity was not prominent, but Bai Hua was quite famous in the circle of young masters in Beijing. Everyone knew that he did not like to be disturbed by unfamiliar people. Brother Bai, I've brought him to you. Have a good chat, you guys have a good chat. Lin Jingwei put his arm around Chen Guang and sat down. Just like that, he sold Chen Guang out. Gao Ya, who was sitting on the side, gave Lin Jingwei a look and whispered in his ear, won't you cause trouble for Chen Guang? He will be angry, right? Lin Jingwei shook his head, it's fine. With me here, there really won't be a fight. Bai Hua was still wearing his favorite white suit. He glanced at Chen Guang with a slightly restrained arrogance in his eyes. Although he was indeed unhappy with Chen Guang, for the sake of Lin Jingwei, he restrained himself. Chen Guang, this is the second time we've met, right? Chen Guang looked at this person. When this person spoke, this person seemed to have purposely raised his nostrils. Although his words were calm, his tone was also normal. But at the same time, he gave off a feeling of superiority. This guy is pressuring me, Chen Guang thought. If it had been a week or two ago, he would have flipped the table and gotten into a fight if he was treated with this kind of tone and manner. But now, after 100 years of experience in the sea of time, even if he had lived for 100 years as a game, Chen Guang had met many times more people than Bai Hua. Young man, in front of the old man, you're still a small fry. I've been giving in to you before, but don't expect me to get serious. Really, when I get serious, I'm so smart that even I'm afraid of myself. Slamming the table would obviously lower his status, so he smiled and said, I didn't expect Brother Bai to still remember me. When I was in dire straits, I was indebted to Brother Bai for helping me get through it. I'm very grateful. Bai Hua shook his head slightly. Don't thank me. I didn't do it to help you. It's all because of Jingwei. If you want to thank him, then it's fine. Chen Guang laughed. I've already thanked him many times. That's good. Bai Hua's attitude suddenly changed. He slammed the glass of wine in his hand onto the table with a loud bang. Lin Jingwei and Gao Ye, who had been paying attention to the two, felt their eyelids twitch. The show was about to start. At this moment, music suddenly rang out in the huge workers' stadium. Many youthful dancers ran out from behind the slowly rising curtains, and Jin Shiyue's unique crisp and sweet voice descended from the sky. Jin Shiyue was wearing a long white dress and stepping on a suspended ladder covered in white feathers. Countless artificial snowflakes fell from the sky. At this moment, Jin Shiyue was breathtakingly beautiful. Everyone stopped talking and turned to look at Jin Shiyue in the sky. Gao Ye cupped her hands and murmured, "She's so beautiful. As a woman, I'm so envious." Lin Jingwei gently hugged her. It's okay. When we get married, I'll make you look even prettier than her. Bai Hua coughed lightly and gestured for Chen Guang to focus his attention back on him. See? Shiyue is such a perfect girl. How can you be worthy of her? Chen Guang laughed. It's not up to you to say whether I'm worthy or not. I really don't understand why Shiyue would like you. I admit that you have good qualities. Otherwise, Jingwei wouldn't have become friends with you. But from my point of view, you're just an internet celebrity who became famous through hype. Putting aside your family background, you're not even on the same level as her. Do you know how much effort she has put in for her music and movies? I've seen her practice dancing until she cramps. I've also seen her only sleep for 3 hours a day for 7 consecutive days just to memorize her lines. You're ruining her hard work by barging into her life. She's only 20 years old. For a female artist to be in a relationship at the age of 20, it's a huge sacrifice and pressure. Do you understand? You'll ruin her career. Bai Hua's tone gradually turned cold. Actually, Chen Guang understood what Bai Hua was saying. But now that things had turned out this way, it was out of his control. He wanted to tell Bai Hua that everyone was kept in the dark. Jin Shiyue and I are innocent, okay? Lin Jingwei and Gao Ye smiled bitterly. If Chen Guang and Jin Shiyue's relationship was real, then perhaps Bai Hua wasn't wrong. But that wasn't the case at all. Both of them were guessing how Chen Guang would answer. Was he going to tell Bai Hua the truth, or was he going to just accept the whole thing? Chen Guang suddenly laughed. How do you know that I'll be a burden to her? Bai Hua snorted through his nose. Shameless boasting. You don't understand Shiyue's talent at all. Many people think that she and Grace relied on their background to get to where they are today. But if it weren't for their extraordinary efforts and amazing talent, do you think money and power alone could make them the beloved left and right hands of everyone? What a joke. If it wasn't for the fact that every time he saw Bai Hua's face, he would be reminded of Bai Hua's blushing face yesterday. Chen Guang would have punched him in the face already. This grandson's words are so *king unpleasant. In fact, whether Jin Shiyue liked him or not, Chen Guang didn't know. After all, it was Jiang Yage who seduced him. Jin Shiyue was just a cover. However, Chen Guang was 100% sure that Big Brother Bai Hua liked him. What? Are you speechless? Forget it. Although I really don't understand what Shiyue likes about you, this is her choice. As her brother, I can only support her. But I'm warning you, if you dare to betray Shiyue, I, Bai Hua, will make you suffer. In short, Chen Guang, the current you can't bring any substantial help to Shiyue's career. I hope you can act like a real man and take responsibility. Don't be a burden to Shiryu and be someone useful to her. That's all I have to say. You're on your own now. Bai Hua seemed to have said enough. He slammed the table and didn't say anything else. Instead, he turned to look at the stage. Lin Jingwei hurriedly came over. Brother Bai Hua, don't be like this. I know Brother Guang very well. He's not that kind of person. As he spoke, Lin Jingwei desperately pinched Qin Guang's thigh, his eyes darting around. Gaoya, who was next to him, also blinked, indicating to Qin Guang not to flip out. Both of them were unhappy with Bai Hua. They were friends of friends. Aren't you making things difficult for us? Qin Guang glared at Lin Jingwei as if he was going to eat him alive. The two brothers understood each other. If it weren't for you, I would have made this bastard bleed. Lin Jingwei secretly patted Qin Guang's shoulder. It's been hard on you. When we get back to school, I'll give you 3 months' worth of water as an apology. Chapter 530. Right at this moment, Bai Hua turned around and saw Lin Jingwei holding on to Qin Guang. He suddenly smiled and said, I'm sorry about that. My attitude was a little vile earlier, so please forgive me if I offended you. Please understand that I'm a brother's concern for his sister. When I was young, the children in the courtyard often beat me up for bullying Shiryu. Jingwei also knows this. Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei were speechless as they looked at Bai Hua. Are you crazy? You want to beat us up and give us candy? You're really bored. Qin Guang smiled insincerely and humphed, I thank you for your concern on behalf of my girlfriend. But in the future, I'll take care of her matters. Don't be like this. Bai Hua shrugged indifferently, Bai Hua, am not someone who goes back on his words. Once a word is said, it's impossible to go back on it. Besides, Jingwei also knows what I'm really thinking right now, right? Jingwei, you know who I want to find the most right now, right? Lin Jingwei and Qin Guang silently drew a small circle in their hearts. We know, but we don't want to know. This matter is hard to say, but it's absolutely true. Qin Guang came over to talk nonsense with Bai Hua, but in the end, he didn't manage to save Lin Jingwei. After this traitor acted cool, he began to pull Lin Jingwei again. He either beat around the bush or directly asked about Qin Yu. Obviously, he had already eaten a heavy weight. If Lin Jingwei didn't hand over the person, he wouldn't be able to live in peace for the rest of his life. Lin Jingwei was miserable, and Qin Guang felt like he was sitting on pins and needles. Gaoya sat between Qin Guang and Lin Jingwei. As a woman, she was very observant and felt that there was something wrong with Qin Guang. Wasn't he interrogating Lin Jingwei's Qin Yu matter with Brother Xiaobai? Why did you, Qin Guang, look even more nervous than Lin Jingwei? You don't even know where to put your hands. Hey, Qin Guang, do you really have something going on with Jin Shiryu? What are you so nervous about? Gaoya, the carefree woman, didn't hide anything. She pulled Qin Guang's ear and started to whisper to him. Qin Guang moved to the side. Stay away from me. Aren't you afraid that little Linny will get jealous? Why would he be jealous? Besides, he might be jealous of others, but why would he be jealous of you? You're right. Sigh. Why did I change the topic? You're not right. Something must be wrong. I don't care. If you really dare to act with Jin Shiryu, I won't let you off. Rolling his eyes, Qin Guang replied, I want to, but will she take a liking to me? Maybe not. Lin Jingwei told me last night that you're poisonous and even asked me to stay away from you. Then why did you say that he can't be jealous of me? This isn't jealousy. This is called guarding against thieves. Pfft. You're the thief. Your whole family is a thief. Fortunately, the performance of the concert itself was very wonderful. Jin Shuryue and Jiang Yage prepared 5 new songs, all of which were the kind of fine works that could be used to hit the charts. Coupled with gorgeous dance and shocking sound effects, the atmosphere of the concert was pushed to the peak again and again. Even Chen Guang, the fake boyfriend and real fan, was very engrossed in the performance. Time flew by. About an hour later, the concert was halfway through. Next, it was time for the 3 special guests. Jin Shuryue and Jiang Yage had a rare 10-minute break. Before the 2 of them left the stage, Sister Zhou quietly ran over to look for Chen Guang. It was Jiang Yage's order to call Chen Guang backstage. She didn't expect Chen Guang to be sitting with Bai Hua. She felt a little awkward. Boss Bai, what a coincidence. Sister Zhou had been Bai Hua's manager for 10 years. She knew that Bai Hua and Jin Shuryue were close. She even knew that Bai Hua had publicly and secretly expressed his love for Jin Shuryue in some small circle. But now, they only called Chen Guang over. This was very embarrassing. Sister Zhou, what's the matter? Bai Hua first looked at Chen Guang, then at Sister Zhou. Sister Zhou said with a bitter face, well, Shuryue asked Mr. Chen to go backstage. She wailed in her heart. Why is my life so bitter? I'm so troubled. On the other hand, Chen Guang stood up. He no longer wanted to sit beside Bai Hua. He wasn't afraid of Bai Hua's posturing, but he was afraid of the name Chen Yu coming out of Bai Hua's mouth. Just hearing it once would make him feel uncomfortable, and hearing it too many times would make his heart, liver, spleen, stomach, and kidney ache. Then, Brother Bai, Shaolin, Xiaoya, I'm going over. Chen Guang walked backstage. Gaoya spat, what Xiaoya? Don't give me random nicknames. Sister Zhou was still standing there, looking at Bai Hua. She wanted to leave but didn't dare to. Chen Guang and Lin Jingwei were speechless. Big sis, if you know that Bai Hua is feeling uncomfortable, don't just stand there and stab him. Go, it's fine. Chen Guang is Shuryue's boyfriend, and it's not good for others to misunderstand you like this. Bai Hua gritted his teeth, but he still managed to suppress his temper and waved Sister Zhou away. After Sister Zhou left with Chen Guang, Lin Jingwei let out a long sigh. Sigh, I have to deal with Chen Yu all by myself again. Gaoya also sighed. Sigh, Chen Guang, please don't make it real. Bai Hua's sigh infected the 2 of them. Sigh, luckily I found my true love. Otherwise, Zhou Yun's lungs would explode. Jingwei, I've never asked you for anything. Lin Jingwei silently wiped away his tears. Brother Guang, hurry up and come back to save me. This is King endless. I can't take it anymore. Chen Guang's appearance caused a small commotion in the crowded backstage. However, everyone was busy, so they only gave him a meaningful smile. No one tried to get close to him. Some were jealous, some were envious, some had hidden anger in their smiles, and some had fake blessings in their smiles. Chen Guang just smiled calmly. I know you guys are very concerned about my relationship with Jin Shuryue, but I'm too lazy to explain it to you guys. I'm not familiar with you guys. After passing through the long passageway and passing by one studio after another, Chen Guang felt something was wrong when he opened a curtain and entered the backstage world. There were both men and women among the staff members who were busy working outside, but it was like 2 different worlds separated by a curtain. Did I travel through time and enter womanland? As far as the eye could see, all he could see were fair thighs, slender and beautiful. Or, there were arms that were waving in all directions. It was a beautiful sight to behold. In the huge changing hall, dozens of young and beautiful girls wearing only bikinis and even the most protective chest patches were either nervously changing clothes or sitting in front of the mirror to touch up their makeup. Some of them were even stretching their ligaments in a very shameful manner. Chen Guang felt that he was too busy to take advantage of them. Holy land! This was a man's paradise. These were all female dancers. In just 5 seconds, Chen Guang had taken advantage of all of them by relying on his shocking reaction and memory. After that, he turned around and walked out of the curtain. Sister Zhou, don't harm me. This is the changing room. First take advantage of others, then protect his image. This was the core survival method of a young man in the new era. Sister Zhou hurriedly followed. Unsure if it was intentional or not, she had an apologetic expression. Sorry. I was too busy and forgot. Then. How am I going to go over now? Let them wear their clothes. Chen Guang put on a straight face. No need. A portion of the dancers will have to change their clothes and go on stage. Those who can't wear it, just face the wall and go over. Alright, I will listen to you. This Sister Zhou is a liar. Looking at the row of large mirrors on the wall, wouldn't he be able to see everything by facing the wall? Chen Guang felt that he must have been scammed. Isn't this Sister Shuyue's boyfriend, Brother Quan? He really came. I thought the internet was lying. He is more handsome in person than on TV. He seems to be very shy. So cute. The girls behind him chattered incessantly. From time to time, laughter could be heard. It was like the dog's tail grass tickling his earlobes. It made Chen Guang's whole body go numb. His mind was floating and he almost forgot who he was, where he came from, and why he was here. In the past, he didn't believe that the girls in the entertainment industry were as bold and unrestrained as the rumors said. But today, he almost believed it. He must try to get the contact information of a few good sisters. In fact, there were some girls who felt dissatisfied and used their clothes to cover their bodies. But people will always be infected by the environment. Among the dozens of girls, at least half of them didn't take it seriously. Of course, none of them were completely naked. They just treated it as if they were wearing swimsuits in the pool. It wasn't really that embarrassing, so they simply didn't care. Besides, he is Jin Shuyue's boyfriend. Would he look up to vulgar girls like us? Didn't he see others awkwardly facing the wall and moving towards Jin Shuyue and Jiang Yage's resting room like crabs? What a pure and innocent little boy. So people were fundamentally different. Chen Guang's mind was filled with lasciviousness, but others felt that he was very innocent, so they didn't have their guard up. If he wanted to blame someone, he could only blame Chen Guang's heart for being too impure and too restless. Sister Shuyue, look at his silly look. It's so cute. Look at his pants. Let's see how he's going to hide later. Jiang Yage put her eyes on the crack of the door and turned to laugh at Jin Shuyue behind her. Jin Shuyue smacked her butt. That's enough. Why do you have to prank others? Don't you feel embarrassed? Jiang Yage laughed. No, don't you think it's very interesting? How is it interesting? Hurry up and put on your clothes. He's coming over. Actually, it really wasn't Sister Zhou who wanted to trick Chen Guang. This matter was basically Jiang Yage's bad idea. With great difficulty, they finally moved into Jin Shuyue and Jiang Yage's resting room. The two girls were already sitting in front of the dressing table to touch up their makeup as if nothing had happened. Outside, many girls who were not so busy gathered together and muttered. Of course, the topic revolved around Chen Guang, their goddess boyfriend. Perhaps it was because their goddess boyfriend had a natural beauty halo. Everyone unanimously agreed that Chen Guang was a handsome guy. I really envy Sister Shuyue. Brother Chen Guang is really talented. I've been following his Weibo for a long time. At that time, he always wore a mask. We didn't know who he was. Io, little girl is in heat. If you have the guts, go and snatch him. If you win against Sister Shuyue, all of us sisters will support you. Seeing how you guys are talking so warmly, I keep feeling that something is wrong. Brother All-Rounder is very handsome, but being handsome can't be used to make a living. Now that the matter has just come out, it's still okay. It doesn't seem to have much impact. But I keep feeling that as time goes on, Sister Shuyue's acting career will be affected sooner or later. No matter what he has achieved in other fields, it's useless. In our line of work, it seems like he only played a small role once. Didn't you guys say that he will be acting in Big Beard Deng's new film soon? Don't talk about this. Just mentioning this matter makes me sweat for him. When he was filming The Country, I also played a small role at the scene. On a hot day, many people wore thick armor and followed him for a few hours, but still couldn't shoot a set of 30 seconds of scenes. It made everyone angry. But later on, I don't know why, but he suddenly had an epiphany. In any case, he managed to get one by a fluke. I'm not from an acting school, but I saw his acting at that time. It's at the level of destroying heaven and earth. Assistant Yang was so angry that he almost cried. What do you mean by destroying heaven and earth? It's a big scene with a few hundred people. As long as he shows his face, he can destroy the entire scene. It's that exaggerated. It's that exaggerated. Then I don't think that the two of them will be a good couple. I heard that he is only a university student. You guys say that he is not in the industry, and his position seems to be quite vague. In the eyes of 1,000 people, there are 1,000 Hamlets. Everyone will have different views on the same matter. Chen Guang couldn't care less about the rumors outside. He was smiling and greeting the people in the resting room. You're here. I still have 2 minutes here. Take a seat first. Jean Shuyue smiled very sweetly. At this time, there were 2 makeup artists in the resting room. In front of outsiders, she was Chen Guang's girlfriend. Chen Guang wasn't in a hurry. He sat down with his legs crossed. It's fine. You guys go ahead. As he spoke, he quietly took out a Patek Philippe from his pocket and put it on. One lie had to be followed by countless lies. Chen Guang used his bloody lesson to teach everyone that they had to be honest, or they would tire themselves to death. On the other side, Jiang Yage suddenly burst into laughter. What are you laughing at? Jean Shuyue was drawing someone's eyebrows and asked without turning her head. Jiang Yage only laughed. She was too embarrassed to say that she saw Chen Guang in the mirror. She quietly put her hand into her trouser pocket and moved one of the 10 poles askew so that it wouldn't be so conspicuous. After waiting for a few minutes, the two of them finished their makeup. The guest singer outside was only halfway through singing, and there were still a few minutes to rest. Jean Shuyue took Jiang Yage's hand and walked up together. Did you like the song we sang today? Jean Shuyue's eyes curved into crescent moons as she put on a sweet act. Chen Guang nodded. I like it, I like it. It was very nice and the stage effect was great. I was very fascinated. Jiang Yage looked at the two of them who were treating each other with respect. She felt that something was wrong. Why did it look like a meeting between the leaders of the United Nations? This wasn't how a normal couple should interact. It was very suspicious, okay. It was fine if it was just the three of them in the room, but there were 2 makeup artists beside them. They had to act well. Brother-in-law, didn't you realize that the song we sang just now, The Brightest Light in the Night Sky, had a deeper meaning? Jiang Yage suddenly said. What? A new song. It's very nice, and it feels very ethereal. That was specially written for you by Sister Shirue. I wrote the lyrics and Sister Shirue composed the music. Aren't you going to give Sister Shirue a kiss of love to encourage her? Jiang Ye just smiled mischievously. Jin Shirue's face instantly turned red. She shyly pinched Jiang Ye's waist. Don't talk nonsense. There are outsiders here. The makeup artist at the side also joined in. Sister Shirue, don't say that. We'll be so sad. You guys are a couple. We also feel that brother-in-law should reward you with a kiss. 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 Jiang Ye pulled the other two to join in. Chen Guang looked at Jiang Ye from the corner of his eyes. Is there something wrong with you? I feel that you're too much. Do you really want to make it real? Then what about you? You send me big pictures every day. Where do you think you are? Chapter 531. Alright, that's enough. You guys are still in the middle of a concert. Don't talk about these things. Chen Guang didn't want to care about Jiang Ye's jeering even if he was beaten to death. He felt so awkward. He didn't expect that Jiang Ye wouldn't let him off so easily. Instead, she desperately winked at him, hinting that there were two makeup artists watching them from behind. Brother-in-law, you can't say it like that. Sister Shirue and I have been preparing for this concert for more than half a month. Everything that should be prepared has been prepared perfectly. Now, the most important thing in the few minutes of intermission is to adjust her mood and state. As Sister Shirue's boyfriend, if you don't give her an encouraging kiss, then what if Sister Shirue's heart is down and her mood is affected when she goes on stage later? Isn't that your fault? Jin Shirue blushed and pinched Jiang Ye's waist again and again, asking her to restrain herself. Chen Guang rolled his eyes madly. Are you really not done? Do you really think I don't dare to? I'm not at a disadvantage. Don't force me. Chen Guang was so annoyed by Jiang Ye that his heart was burning with evil fire. Alright, you're the one who forced me to pretend to be real. Anyway, I've been a scapegoat on the internet for a long time. If I don't really take advantage of you, I'm not worthy of my reputation as a cheap boyfriend. Alright, I'll kiss you then. I'm a man, why would I be shy? As he said that, he turned around and gently hugged Jin Shirue who was next to him. Jin Shirue's whole body trembled, and her body stiffened as if she was enchanted. Her face was also a little frightened. Although she and Chen Guang were so high profile on the internet, it was all for others to see. She didn't think that there would be a day when she would really be hugged by Chen Guang. Her breathing gradually quickened, and a touch of redness slowly surged under her beautiful makeup. But Jin Shirue didn't completely indulge in it. Instead, she secretly glanced at Jiang Ye's expression next to her. She saw that Jiang Ye stood aside with her hands clasped over her heart. A pair of beautiful big eyes stared at the air between Chen Guang and Jin Shirue. Her eyes were filled with envy and jealousy. Jin Shirue silently pinched Jiang Ye's hand. Who asked you to make a fuss? Now that he really wants to kiss me, you're here to complain and envy. Isn't this your doing? Jiang Ye was also a little dumbfounded watching from the side. She didn't expect that Chen Guang would really want to kiss Jin Shirue. She just wanted to change the atmosphere a little, so that the two people wouldn't make it seem like a meeting between the leaders of the country. Otherwise, the two makeup artists would notice something was wrong and go out to gossip. A lot of gossip in the entertainment industry was secretly exposed by these small staff who stayed by the artist's side. It wasn't easy for a youth idol to make their relationship public. But once it was made public, if people suspected that they were acting, the impact would be even worse. At this time, Chen Guang didn't think so much in his mind. He just looked at Jin Shiryue's evasive eyes and her blushing face, which was really like a beautiful picture. He had seen Jin Shiryue's beautiful face countless times on TV or on the internet. It wasn't that there weren't people who were as close to each other as they were now when they were together. But now was different from the past. Chen Guang's state of mind was completely different from the past. In the past, no matter how close they were, he didn't think of kissing her. But at this moment, looking at the cherry-red lips so close, and the way she gradually closed her misty eyes, allowing him to do whatever he wanted, Jin Shiryue's beauty was further magnified. Like a storm sweeping through his heart, like a spring rain teasing his heart, just like a demon walking in the human world, Jin Shiryue's face slowly devoured Chen Guang's reserved and rational mind. He secretly took a deep breath, slightly widened his eyes, and slowly lowered his head, aiming at Jin Shiryue's lips. They kissed. Their four lips crossed the barrier of identity and the interference of the third wheel, Jiang, and stuck together fiercely. Jin Shiryue's breathing and heartbeat seemed to have stopped at that moment. She felt as if her soul was being sucked away from her lips. Jiang's body tightened into a ball, regretting so much that her intestines turned green. I'm trapped in a cocoon of my own making. I really wish that the person who was kissed by him was me. I'm so stupid. So regretful. Sister Shiryue, what are you doing? Staring blankly, Jiang actually saw a red cloud sweeping up from below Jin Shiryue's neck, causing her whole body to be suffused with a red light. What was even more excessive was that she unconsciously let out a murmur from her nose. Her hands actually hugged Chen Guang's back from behind, caressing his back randomly. That's enough. The two of you are enough. Acting to this extent was already more than enough. Chen Guang was much more clear-headed than Jin Shiryue. He only thought, her lips are really soft, just like the cotton candy he ate when he was young, soft and moist. This is the goddess's lips that thousands of fans in the country dream of, and now I'm kissing it tightly. Forget it, although things turned out to be a little strange, and I feel a little sorry for her, but the feeling is really good, very comfortable. Unexpectedly, he felt a slight scratching pain on his back. Jin Shiryue, who was hugging him, was using even more strength, and her body was fiercely pressing against him. Her tall and plump breasts carried the youthful aura of a 20-year-old girl, extremely oppressive. Even through the 3 layers of clothes between the two of them, the feeling was still so clear. What's this situation? Big sister, aren't we acting? That's enough. It's already in place. At this moment, a soft and moist lilac tongue suddenly burrowed out from between Jin Shiryue's lips, actually pried open his lips and probed into his mouth. This was King terrible. Cough cough cough. Cough 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 cough. At this moment, Jiang coughed violently. She had been holding it in for a long time. She couldn't hold it in anymore. Jin Shiryue suddenly woke up, the misty look in her eyes receding like the tide. She realized that she might have gone too far, quickly covered her face, pushed Chen Guang away, and shrunk to the side. Sorry, I lost control a little. I've never filmed a kissing scene. I don't have much experience. No one knew who she was apologizing to. Perhaps only Jiang and Chen Guang understood a little. The makeup artists on the side were very excited and applauded. One more. No, it's a concert. Chen Guang took advantage of others, subconsciously felt guilty, and continuously waved his hand. Jiang pouted, took out a beautiful box from her bag, and stuffed it into Chen Guang's hand. Here, we asked Master Jamie Laurent to make this watch strap in Australia. Remember to wear it when you go back. She didn't want to admit it, but she was really jealous. She just wanted to do something to adjust Chen Guang's emotions after the kiss as soon as possible. Chen Guang took the watch strap, blushing, and chuckled. I'll change it now. I'll change it now. At this moment, there was a sudden loud noise. It sounded very frightening. Everyone was shocked. Something happened. Chapter 532. Sister Zhou, what's wrong? Disregarding the fact that there were still many dancers changing outside, Jean Shirue, who had just recovered from her shyness, abruptly opened the door of the break room and walked out. Perhaps she was trying to escape from something. Jiang Yage's brows were tightly furrowed. They had prepared for this concert for a long time and attached great importance to it. She didn't want any accidents to happen at this time. Chen Guang didn't think too much about it and hurriedly ran out. The crowd didn't understand the situation until they reached the outermost hall backstage. Zhou Yun's face was so gloomy that it could drip water. Something happened. Just now, after the last group of guests finished their performance, our two pianists tripped and fell down the aisle. It seems like Lin tripped first and fell down the stairs with Qi Jinyue. What? Did they fall badly? As soon as Jean Shirue asked this, she felt that it was unnecessary. The commotion was so loud that the entire backstage could hear it. The two of them must have been seriously injured. Jean Shirue said, "Let's hurry up and take a look. Don't hurt them." The crowd walked forward like the stars surrounding the moon. As soon as they reached the staircase, Chen Guang felt that there was no need to ask any more questions. These two old fellows must have had 8 lifetimes of bad luck. They rolled from the top of the stairs to the bottom of the staircase, and then rolled into a ball against the wall. Not only were their heads broken and bleeding, but they were also curled up in a corner with one hand covering the other in pain. The medical staff gave the two a simple examination, then shook their heads and stood up. They can't perform on stage. Mr. He and Mr. Qi both have a certain degree of joint sprain. As for whether there are any fractures, we'll have to check further. Zhou Yun's face was livid. But the concert is only halfway through. There are at least 7 more songs that need piano accompaniment. What should we do? Do we have a backup pianist? Zhou Yun asked as she pulled over the person in charge of the concert organization. The man was so scared that his face was pale. I didn't expect this to happen. Lin and Qi Jinyue are the best pianists our company can find. There are other pianists near the company, but the traffic is very bad. I'm afraid they won't make it in time. Then what should we do? Are we going to change the sound system and give up on the live accompaniment? Zhou Yun turned her head and asked Jean Shirue. However, Jean Shirue shook her head. No, 3 of the remaining 7 songs are new. Although the other 4 are old songs, they have been rearranged. We just made adjustments to 2 of them yesterday. We didn't prepare a sound source for the studio's sound quality. Besides, if we change the sound source at the last minute, all the other accompaniment will have to be abandoned, and the effect of the whole concert will be messed up. Can't you ask backstage if any of the performers know how to play the piano? Let's just find 2 people to replace them, Chen Guang suggested. Jiang Yage shook her head fiercely. That won't do. This is a live performance. We have to ensure the effect. We can't just let anyone take over. Although our songs aren't very difficult, we haven't practiced them before. How can we let others take over directly? Then what should we do now? The group was in a dilemma. However, Lin and Qi Jinyue's injuries weren't light, so they couldn't be delayed. The entertainment company arranged for them to be sent to the hospital. The 2 musicians wanted to bite the bullet, but when everyone saw that their wrists were swollen like thighs, no one dared to let them do it. The last song of the special guests was Rock and Roll. The prelude had already started, and the next song would be the piano accompaniment. Time was running out. What happened? Just as everyone was having a headache, the well-informed Bai Hua rushed over with Lin Jingwei and the others. "Brother Bai Hua, why are you here?" When Jin Shiyue saw Bai Hua, she was a little shocked. However, she maintained her composure and held onto Qin Guang's hand. Bai Hua's eyelids twitched, and his heart bled. "Shiyue, don't be like this. I wish you happiness. I've also found my true love. Don't be so guarded against me." With a bitter face, Zhou Yun explained the sudden situation to Bai Hua. No matter how young Bai Hua was, it was obvious that he couldn't magically summon a pianist who could take the blame. Qin Guang looked at Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage's anxious and angry faces, and his heart ached for them. "It's over, it's all over." Qin Guang put his hand on Lin Jingwei's shoulder and said in an extremely anxious tone. Lin Jingwei turned his head and looked at Qin Guang for a long time. "Brother Guang, are you stupid?" "Ah. If I remember correctly, didn't you give a piano concert before? Didn't you play the world's 10 most difficult songs as if you were playing a game? Although you were wearing a mask at that time, I knew it was you." "Ah. That's true. That's right. I can do it. Little Lin, you're so smart." "It's not that I'm smart, it's that you're too stupid. Alright, watch me." Qin Guang waved his hand and pushed Lin Jingwei away. He stood in the middle of the crowd and raised his hands. "Everyone, don't panic. I'll do it." "What?" Everyone turned to look at him in unison, and the atmosphere in the room suddenly froze. It was quiet for more than 10 seconds, and then everyone turned their heads back as if nothing had happened. "Why don't we try to find someone in the audience who knows how to play?" "No, that's impossible. Let's change the song at the last minute and change it to sound accompaniment. The effect is just a little bit worse. We can add a conversation and interaction segment. If we cut one song, the fans shouldn't have too much of an opinion. We can let Mr. Qin interact with Shiyue on the stage, talk about love, and talk about his future plans." "That's not a good idea." Qin Guang stared at these guys. None of them took him seriously. He was so angry that his face turned green and white. "The old man's piano god statue is right in front of me. How dare you ignore me? How dare you ignore the piano god? Ignore the greatest pianist in history." He slammed the table again. "Hey, I'm serious." At this moment, Jiang Yage suddenly remembered. "Hey. Right, isn't brother-in-law very good at playing the piano? It's difficult to find someone else at the last minute, but brother-in-law should be able to do it, right? We're really in the dark." Zhou Yun was put in a difficult position. "Yage, don't joke around. Mr. Chen only knows a little." No, he doesn't know a little. "Sis Zhou, you haven't seen him live or followed his videos. Let me put it to you this way. Brother-in-law is a master in the piano. A real master, perhaps even better than those who have won international awards. It's just that he has never participated in any international competitions before and doesn't have any awards in the piano field." Jiang Yage argued for Qin Guang. Jin Shiyue also nodded and walked over to hold Qin Guang's hand. "Yage is not talking nonsense. Darling has held a live concert before. Although it was only broadcast on a local station, it had a great impact on the international music industry. Can he really do it?" Zhou Yun wavered. Chapter 533. The person in charge of the entertainment company acted quickly. He had already opened his phone and started searching. He slapped his thigh and said, "Hey! Why didn't I think of it? Shiyue's boyfriend is Qin Guang. Qin Guang is an all-rounder. Brother all-rounder, do you remember the comment below the video you uploaded for the first time? You even replied to me. I'm one of your first fans. If it's you, there won't be a problem. But some of our songs require 2 pianos. Even if Mr. Chin can fill in, we're still lacking one person. If it's just one piano, the performance will be affected, Zhou Yun said. Chen Guang waved his hand nonchalantly. It doesn't matter. If it's necessary, I can play 2 pianos by myself. Everyone's eyes widened. You're going too far with your bragging. Who the hell can play 2 pianos by themselves? This is concert accompaniment, not acrobatics. This won't work, right? I know people have performed like this before, but those were specially adapted songs. Our accompaniment is a normal song that requires 2 hands to play a piano at the same time. You don't have 4 hands, so it won't work. It really won't work. Zhou Yun shook her head like a rattledrum. The others did the same. Seeing everyone's disbelief, Chen Guang just smiled silently. To be honest, I like how you bunch of frogs at the bottom of a well think that the old man is bragging, but when the time comes, you have no choice but to obediently kneel to him. Everyone, since it's come to this, it seems like we don't have any other choice. Let's not talk about these useless things. Set up the 2 pianos for me. Won't we know if it's a donkey or a horse? How about this, I'll make a military pledge. If I really screw it up today, I'll publish an apology in the papers tomorrow. How about that? Chen Guang said very seriously. A successful concert required a large group of people to work together. Chen Guang understood their scruples and hesitation. This was also the hard work of all of them. Of course they would be overcautious. If he really messed it up, he would be letting down all of them. Although he was full of confidence, in the eyes of others, it was indeed very difficult for one person to play 2 pianos and ensure a perfect performance. This was just like the World Championship of darts. Before he appeared, who would have believed that someone could shoot anywhere he wanted from dozens of meters away? Just do as Chen Guang says. No one had much time to hesitate. Jean Shirue stood up for her man and made the decision. Her thoughts were very clear. Regardless of whether Chen Guang could do it or not, since they were a couple in front of outsiders, she had to play the role of a little woman and trust her man unconditionally. Even if he really messed it up, they would shoulder it together. Jiang Yage nodded heavily. That's right. Sister Zhou, quickly arrange for someone to help brother-in-law put on makeup and change his clothes. Oh right, let brother-in-law take a look at the score in advance. There's only 5 minutes left. There were many things that needed to be communicated urgently. Jin Jiang and Bai Hua chose to trust Chen Guang unconditionally and went to do their own things. Chen Guang, this is Shiyue's first large-scale concert in Beijing after she became famous. You're the one who insisted on showing off. If you mess it up. Bai Hua was still a little worried. He could not drag Lin Jingwei away, so he had to run to Chen Guang, who was in the middle of putting on makeup. Chen Guang did not even raise his head. His eyes quickly scanned the score. Brother Xiaobai, you don't have to worry about this. I'm much more concerned about my woman's matters than you are. You should just sit down and be a good audience. I thank you on behalf of the two of us. Originally, he did not want to use Jin Shiyue's name to flaunt his affection, but Brother Xiaobai was really annoying in this aspect. Brother Xiaobai, I have something to say to you very seriously. Shiyue is my girlfriend. As a man, I really don't like it when my girlfriend has a brother who is not related to her. You know what I mean, you understand. Childhood friends, best buddies, I can understand that. After all, who doesn't have friends? But a true friend should understand that you shouldn't do things that make things difficult for her, right? He put down the score and said calmly, regardless of whether Shiyue's boyfriend is me or someone else, you have to be clear about this matter. Brother Xiaobai, you're the CEO of a big company. You should be able to understand this kind of simple worldly wisdom, right? As he said this, Chen Guang thought to himself, if I didn't know that the person you like is another me, if I didn't know that Jin Shiyue and I aren't a true couple, if it wasn't for little Lin mediating between us, I would have beaten you up every time I see you. Bai Hua's heart, liver, spleen, stomach, and kidneys were all uncomfortable after being reprimanded by Chen Guang. Although he knew that Chen Guang was right, how many people dared to speak to him like this after so many years? Lin Jingwei saw that the situation was not good and quickly came forward. All right. Stop torturing me. Can you be more magnanimous? Brother Xiaobai, let's go. Let him read the score alone. Time is too tight. Oh right, I have important information to report. It's related to Qin Yu. What? Let's go. Chen Guang was silent for a long time as he looked at the back of the two leaving quickly. Sigh, in the end, I still have to rely on my beauty to snatch a woman from others. The rock music outside gradually stopped, and the audience gradually recovered from the excitement of the music. But soon, everyone began to cheer Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage's names in unison. Next would be the first time the two would perform their new songs in public. Naturally, the audience was looking forward to it. The others were already in position. Chen Guang finally tidied up a little. The makeup artist was so tired that he was sweating profusely. Fortunately, Mr. Chen has a good foundation. His facial features are very regular. All we need to do is slightly brighten up his face, and he will be on camera. I appreciate an honest person like you. Chen Guang smiled. He picked up the iPad and walked out. Zhou Yun led the way in front of him. She was still a little worried. Mr. Chen, is it going to be okay? Before stepping onto the stage, Chen Guang turned around and looked at Zhou Yun. Of course, it's going to be okay. Looking at his handsome back, Zhou Yun could only roll her eyes. Anyway, the two pianos have been arranged according to your instructions. If you really act like a donkey, I will remove your millstone. I will fight it out with you. On the huge stage, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage wore a black and white feather dress respectively. They stood back to back. They were surrounded by 16 dancers in blue chiffon dresses. On the stage behind them, the accompaniment band was waiting. For this concert, not only did the two of them train hard for more than a month, but the band members also trained even harder than Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. But at this time, they were very flustered. They had just found out that He Lin and Qi Jinyue had been accidentally injured, but at this time, there were still two pianos placed in the middle of the stage. However, when the curtain changed, the two pianos had been placed side by side to face each other. In the middle was a round swivel stool, and on the stool sat a man hidden in the shadows. Who is this? I haven't seen him even once during the group practice. Could it be that today is the first time he saw the music score? With two pianos placed like this, could it be that he wants to play two by himself? This is too childish. Jingwei, I have already made up my mind. If he messes up, I will spend 50 million to start a media company. I will use different ways to defame him every day. I will defame him full time. Bai Hua sat on the VIP seat with his legs crossed. He looked at the dark stage and hummed. Brother Bai, you have changed. Oh, did you say that Qin Yu is really from the northeast? She likes to eat scallion sauce. Bai Hua changed the topic. Lin Jingwei nodded. Yes. She also said that she has a strong personality and doesn't like to adapt to other people's lifestyle. Bai Hua gritted his teeth. Fine. I will try to learn to eat scallion sauce when I go back tonight. This is true love. You two, stop chatting. It's starting, it's starting. In a sense, Gaoye was the real fan of this table. As the music started, Jin Shuiwa sang in a low voice. Swan Lake under the moonlight. I bring it to everyone. I hope everyone will like it. As soon as Jin Shuiwa's voice fell, the melodious sound of the accordion quickly cut in, and Jiang Yage began to sing warmly with her unique crisp, oriole-like singing voice. Jin Shuiwa and Jiang Yage had worked together for many years. They both had their own styles. Jiang Yage's voice was clear and resounding. She had a unique voice in the upper register. Jin Shuiwa's voice was sweet and gentle. She was known as the king of the country's young singers. Both of their voices were very recognizable, and when paired together, they could bring the listener's ears into a wonderful auditory experience without any blind spots. Although their songs were often said to be catchy songs that lacked depth and were catchy, no one could deny that they were really good. When it came to music, it couldn't be bad. Art that could be loved by the people couldn't be bad art. The ordinary audience only knew that the two were in good condition today and that they were singing well. However, the insiders clenched their fists and waited for the chorus nervously. Even if Chen Guang really could play like the rumors said, he had only seen the score and had never practiced it before. Therefore, the audience was not sure. Finally, when the song cut into the chorus, the crisp sound of a piano suddenly cut in. Zhou Yun, who had clenched her fists, and the people from the entertainment company immediately let out a long sigh of relief. Thank goodness, it didn't seem to be that bad. His music was extremely precise, not rushing for a single minute or a second more. He was always able to play the right note at the right time. The first song only needed a single piano accompaniment. Chen Guang was able to cut in at the right time with only the score and no practice. He had never worked with a band before, but he was able to perfectly match the rhythm of the others. This was already a big surprise. It was not easy. How could they know that for the super player who could play as long as he had the score and the strongest bard, Right Chin, who was famous in the instantaneous ocean, this was not a problem at all. Admittedly, his piano sound was extremely lacking in personal style. However, this was Jin Zhang's concert, not his solo performance. There was no need for personal style. All he needed to do was to accurately follow every note like a machine. The music gradually stopped and the lights gave the band a close-up. Chen Guang didn't have time to care. Instead, he took advantage of the little time left to sweep his eyes over the iPad in front of him. The next song had nothing to do with him, but the song after that was the accompaniment of two pianos. The real challenge had just begun. Chapter 534. Mozart's Autumn. Just from the name, one could tell that this song was mainly composed of piano music. This wasn't a new song, but the title song of the album of the same name released by the sisters 2 years ago. It was a super hot song that dominated the charts for 38 weeks. The entire piano part of the song was a combination of 12 classic works by Mozart. Moreover, the two women and many masters had meticulously crafted the connecting parts. It could be considered a perfect connection. It could even be said that Mozart's Autumn represented the pinnacle of the musical depth of the left and right hand duo. It was also because of the existence of this song that the entertainment company in charge of the concert preparation work paid special attention to it and hired two famous experts in Beijing, He Lin and Qi Jinyue. These two people were even more famous than Zhuo Jingxi's fiancé, Zhou Long. It was a pity that the heavens were not on their side. The two of them fell into the hospital before they could perform the song together. One of them was injured, and both of them were extremely unlucky. Zhou Yun paced back and forth backstage, almost dazzling the eyes of the person in charge of the entertainment company beside her. Sister Zhou, take a break. Anyway, he's already on stage, no matter how nervous you are, it's useless. I understand what you're saying, but I'm just afraid. Zhou Yun frowned. I still don't understand how he can play 2 pianos by himself. Do you know? I don't know either. Then why doesn't he panic at all? It's like he's already eaten the sea-calming needle. Actually, I'm scared to death, but I'm just too embarrassed to say it. There's no use panicking. In fact, not only Sister Zhou and the others, even Jin Shiriyue and Jiang Yage were a little distracted. They couldn't help but look at Chen Guang. Although he and the piano were temporarily hidden in the dark, once the performance began, the lights on his side would be turned on. In Mozart's Autumn, the importance of the pianist was not inferior to the singer at all, so it was inevitable that he would become the focus of the audience. At this time, Chen Guang didn't care about what others were worried about. He had completely entered the state of a bard. In his mind, he was rapidly analyzing the 2 piano scores of Mozart's Autumn. It wasn't that he had the ability to adapt the music on the spot to make the accompaniment of the 2 pianos simpler and more suitable for 2 hands to play the 2 pianos separately. He was just using his rich playing experience to break down the music score into the simplest rules, such as when to press which key, and what sound to produce. This method was very stupid, but it was also very difficult. Only he, who had endured the demonic training of the piano cup world, could use this most difficult and stupid method to do it. Similarly, he was the only one who possessed the terrifying Qilin arms that mortals could only look up to and not imagine. After all, when he first learned to play the piano, he also learned it by throwing bread and steak at the people in the lobby of the bar on the Virginia in a similar stupid method. Raising his hands and stretching his body, Chen Guang could imagine the intense exercise that his arms would undergo. However, it didn't matter. After all, the Qilin arms would be used in a single moment. Sooner or later, the Qilin arms would make an appearance, and it was time for mortals to look up to them. You're asking me how I can play 2 pianos by myself. Do you think I'll omit half of the notes and stupidly place my hands on the 2 pianos separately? Don't joke around, that's no different from playing 1 piano, okay? Why would I do such a shoddy thing to take advantage of the situation? I'm going to defy the heavens. My method is very simple and crude. Perhaps there will be a slight deviation in the intonation, but I'm going to rely on super fast pendulum movements to make my left and right hands play the piano at the same time. I'm going to show you the invincible power of the Qilin arms that I've trained after playing more than 20 million brass fireworks. Chen Guang was also determined. He also had his own ideas. That's right, after thinking for a long time, he still couldn't figure out what method he should use to prove to the world that his Qilin arms was the strongest in the world. He couldn't even find an entry point for a cow eating a pumpkin. But today, when he proposed to play 2 pianos by himself, he suddenly had a burst of inspiration. He suddenly thought, I'll show off the Qilin arms the way I practiced in the past. What I practiced was overclocked vibration, and as long as I show off the overclocked vibration, it would completely meet the requirements of the Qilin arms. It's just that the amplitude is a little bigger. Alright, it's not just a little bigger, but 10 times bigger. But it doesn't matter, I can hold on, and I must hold on. This was the live concert of Jin Shiriyue and Jiang Yage. There were tens of thousands of people in the audience. Zhongnan Satellite TV and Yanjing Satellite TV, which had high viewership ratings, were broadcasting it live at the same time. It was said that Shaozong also spent a lot of money to buy the rights to broadcast it online. The total number of viewers in several places was probably higher than the World Championship of Darts. It was definitely not less than 20 million people. During the previous song, Chen Guang didn't have much screen time, but he knew that when Autumn of Mozart began, all the audience would see the invincible style of the old man's Qilin arms in front of their TV. Surrender. Mortals. Surrender to the old man's Qilin arms. I'll let you understand why the old man was able to conquer your goddess. It's because of the terrifying overclocked vibration of the old man's hands. Don't let your imagination run wild, Jin Shuryue and I are pure. Before he could let his imagination run wild, Jin Shuryue and Jiang Yage had already finished their lines. The music was about to start. The crisp and melodious piano solo gradually sounded. Everything sounded normal, full of the beauty of peace and tranquility. Jin Shuryue could no longer worry about Chen Guang's condition. She picked up the microphone and closed her eyes. The long prelude of the song burst out from her chest and was transmitted to everyone's ears through the microphone. Jiang Yage stood beside Jin Shuryue, but her mind was focused on Chen Guang behind her. In about 10 seconds, the music from the second piano would start playing. From an ordinary musical performance, it was nothing more than two pianos complementing each other to make the performance more three-dimensional. But everyone who knew the truth was sweating in their palms. A cellist's chair was very close to Chen Guang. He had already practiced the piece in his hands to the point where he could play it even with his eyes closed. Therefore, he was more free than the others and could even glance at the piano from time to time. Chen Guang sat on a round stool, his hands on the white piano in front of him, fingers flying. The cellist was full of curiosity. This brother who suddenly appeared to save the situation was very skilled. Although it wasn't amazing to say that he was a substitute at the last minute, with his stability, he could be considered a master. But it was time for the two pianos to perform together. How did they arrange it? Did they change to a single piano? Then the whole concert might be acceptable to the ears of ordinary fans, but to the ears of senior music critics or picky music fans, it would be a serious problem. Right at this moment, his pupils constricted because he discovered something extremely strange. This person was bouncing and then inexplicably sat sideways. The two pianos were on his left and right sides, and his body was completely at a right angle to the piano. His right hand had been completely removed, resting on the other black piano, and his left hand was missing. The white piano did not stop playing, and it was completely the same as before. To the cellist's picky ears, he might have heard a slight change in pitch, but it was still within an acceptable range. But he did not play anymore. Where was his left hand? Did he see a ghost? At this time, the lights on the top of the stage suddenly came on, and two intersecting strong lights shone on Chen Guang. The people in front of the TV saw this scene. Chen Guang sat sideways between the two pianos, his eyes closed, his expression cold. His chiseled facial features looked especially handsome under the light after he put on some simple makeup. As for those that didn't know Chen Guang, they were wondering who this pianist was since he looked rather handsome. Those who knew Chen Guang were even more surprised. How could it be him, Jin Shuryue's rumored boyfriend, personally playing? Of course, whether they knew him or not, they all had the same thought at this time. His sitting posture doesn't seem right, and where is his left hand? Where did it run off to? I have never heard of him being the one-armed hero Yang Gua. Also, are you really playing the piano? After lip-syncing, the current celebrities have developed a new trick, letting their rumored boyfriend fake play the piano. Chapter 535. Just as everyone was puzzled and at a loss, Chen Guang's right hand suddenly moved. From stillness to movement, it happened in an instant. Under the spotlight, under everyone's eyes, his right hand disappeared into thin air. A magic show. A Prince Charming broke both his arms. How did he make his hands disappear into thin air? But there was no mention of this in the previous concert preview. Did he use the special effects of light and shadow? What was the point of this performance? One mystery after another arose in the minds of the audience at the venue and in front of their computers. But at this time, Jin Shuryue and Jiang Yage singing gradually became more sonorous as the music progressed, slowly bringing the audience back into the normal atmosphere of the concert. Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage were very experienced on stage. Although they were young, they already had the demeanor of a veteran artist. No matter how worried they were about Chen Guang, with their stage presence, they would definitely not drop the ball first. Don't be fooled by the two singing and dancing on stage, they actually had a big question mark in their minds. There really were two pianos playing at the same time. How did he do it? He really didn't cut corners and forced himself to play two pianos, not a single note was missing. He really used two hands to play the effect of two people using four hands. What was going on? The two of them were like 100,000 wise. Zhou Yun wasn't much better than Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. Hiding in the corner backstage, her eyes widened and blinked, but she still couldn't believe what she was seeing. Is the digital audio playing backstage? Zhou Yun turned to ask the person in charge of the entertainment company. The man was well prepared. He squinted at the front with the binoculars in his hand and hummed, "No, really. This piano was played by Mr. Chin." "Stop joking, I don't believe it. Even if I saw it with my own eyes, I still wouldn't believe it." Zhou Yun was stubborn. She snatched the binoculars and muttered, "Let me see." 20 seconds later, Zhou Yun quietly put down the binoculars. Her mind was blank. The more she saw the scene with her own eyes, the stranger it felt. Chen Guang's hand had indeed disappeared. Even with the binoculars, she couldn't see it. Starting from his shoulder, his hand seemed to have vanished into thin air. But the ups and downs of the keys on the piano could be seen clearly, as if a ghost was playing. But there were no ghosts in this world, only Chen Guang sitting there. Zhou Yun turned to look at the person in charge of the entertainment company and asked doubtfully, "Is it because his hands are moving so fast that we can't see them clearly? Is he really playing one by one?" "I think so. Crazy, completely crazy." Was his hand an electric motor? How could it tremble so fast? And he played it so steadily. I don't believe it. I don't care if you believe it or not, but that's what we saw. I was the one who found the piano, so there's no way it can play automatically. Bai Hua, Lin Jingwei, and Gao Ye, who were sitting in the VIP seats, weren't any better. They couldn't be bothered to listen to Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage. Their eyes were glued to the big LED screen at the back of the stadium. On the screen was Chen Guang sitting motionless between the two pianos. What is he trying to do? Bai Hua squinted, trying to see what was going on. Lin Jingwei thought for a long time and said hesitantly, "In my humble opinion, maybe, his hands are moving too fast, and the camera can't capture them clearly." "Don't talk nonsense, how is that possible?" Bai Hua refused to believe it. "What else? How do you explain it?" Lin Jingwei shrugged and whispered in Bai Hua's ear, "Brother Bai Hua, actually, Chen Guang has a very good friend named Wenwen. She knows inner force." "Ha!" Bai Hua raised his eyebrows, "Inner force?" Lin Jingwei nodded, "Yes. Then maybe it's really possible." Bai Hua looked at the big screen unwillingly. He's a complete psycho. And also a lunatic. Isn't he afraid of getting into trouble with such a flashy technique? How can a normal person's hands shake like that? Lin Jingwei curled his lips. What is he afraid of? Isn't there me, Jin Shiyue, and Wenwen? Who would really cut him up and use him as a lab rat? It's just that I didn't expect this guy to be so lucky. His hands are invincible. Gao Ye didn't really hear what the two were talking about, but she was so excited that she pinched Lin Jingwei's shoulder. "Lin Jingwei, hurry up and learn from him. This vibration frequency looks so good. It's much better than the thing you bought a few days ago." Just as she finished speaking, Gao Ye realized that they were outside, and there were outsiders. Her face flushed red, and she turned to the side shyly. Lin Jingwei quickly covered his face, feeling so awkward. The sound of the piano continued, and Jin Zhang's performance continued as usual. Although the audience in front of their computers and televisions felt that the armless handsome guy, who would occasionally appear on camera, was very magical, they only treated it as a concert Easter egg. Perhaps it was the same as the little rainbow flag that kept spinning in circles at a certain spring festival gala. This was also Jin Shiyue's way of promoting her boyfriend's debut, so she got him to be a mascot. It didn't matter if the piano was really played or not. Only a small number of people in the know were shocked to the point that they couldn't even take care of themselves. Finally, the music of Mozart's Autumn gradually stopped, and the accompaniment changed from 2 pianos to a single piano. Chen Guang was actually having a hard time. Although the Kirin arm was powerful, he was forced to play 2 pianos this time. The swing was 10 times larger than before, and he still had to play every note accurately during the swing. It wasn't easy. To ordinary people, this was just nonsense. It was like living in a dream. It was impossible, and they couldn't even think about it. Only he could. However, as long as he could get through this, Mozart's Autumn, the other songs would be easy. Even if he needed 2 pianos, they were usually simpler combinations, and they could be completed by using homophonic resonance. It wasn't like this song, which required 2 pianos to complement each other. Finally, he let out a long breath, and suddenly retracted his right hand. His body twisted to the left, and he looked like he was playing a piano with both hands. His disappeared hands gradually reappeared in the camera. Although they were still jumping on the piano keys as fast as lightning, at least they could be seen clearly. The TV camera accurately captured this scene. Whether it was the live audience or the audience in front of the screen, their eyelids twitched. They were puzzled. Did this mean that he wasn't putting on a show just now? He was really playing. Are you King kidding me? Even the old fans of Chen Guang's Weibo account, All Around Superman, felt blind. Brother All Around, why are your hands shaking like a helicopter? Why don't you go to heaven? Don't lie to me, I don't read much. Chen Guang was also quite unhappy at this time. I'm already working so hard, but why hasn't the statue of the Kirin arm moved? There's no reason why such a Kirin arm can't convince people. Could it be that the scene looks too fantastical, and no one believes it at all? The more he thought about it, the more it seemed possible. He felt a faint pain in the bottom of his heart. At this time, the benefits of the online live broadcast finally showed. There were already technical experts who had intercepted the ultra-clear video source of Bamboo Live, and then slowed down the playback speed by 60 times for frame-by-frame analysis. Then, they came to an amazing conclusion. Everyone, as the most technical fan of All Around Superman, I'm here again. But this time, it's not to verify the authenticity of the video, but to analyze the supernatural phenomenon at today's concert. I'll give you a warning first, guys with heart disease, don't watch my next analysis. Below this string of text, there were several consecutive long pictures, each long picture with several frame-by-frame analysis pictures, in which the scattered distribution of Chen Guang's arms in the shape of shadows could be vaguely seen. His last picture was a shocking conclusion in red letters. I believe that everyone will understand after reading my analysis. In summary, Brother All-Rounder used the high-frequency vibration of his hands to create the feeling of 2 hands popping out with 1 hand. In fact, in the analysis, it can be found that compared with a normal performance with 2 hands, there is indeed an error of about 0.2 seconds between every 2 intonations, but he used the other hand to cleverly split it when playing, and this originally unacceptable error was filled in by using a homophonic method, so no abnormalities can be found in normal hearing. I'm really shocked. Although everyone knows that Brother All-Rounder is very good at playing the piano, and that the world's most difficult songs can't stump him, his hands are really terrifying. beyond human understanding. This must be the world's most terrifying vibrating hand. This person directly posted on another Weibo, but after several previous wars between Chen Guang's fans and other people, this technical expert has already become a little famous among Chen Guang's fans, so as soon as his Weibo was posted, it caused a lot of sensation on Weibo. After a while, in the live broadcast room of Bamboo's live concert, the Water Friends also began to shout, asking everyone to quickly go to Weibo to see God. In just a few minutes, this Weibo has received an astonishing number of clicks, and in the form of text, some people in the bullet screen also relayed the technical expert's analysis. At this time, the audience in front of the computer looked at Chen Guang, who was leisurely playing the piano on the screen, and the look in their eyes was not right. This is AF * King Living God. I always thought that I was already a loyal fan of Brother Allrounder, but today I know that I was wrong. I repent for the brief moment that I suspected that Brother Allrounder was a fake. Who would have thought that his hand could be so good? He doesn't play cards according to the routine, and just because he doesn't agree with me, he pretends to be so pretentious, I can't guard against it. No matter what you think, I will first kneel to show my respect. I'm so envious of Jin Shiyue, really envious. I'm a girl, everyone knows. I'm also a female fan of Chen Guang. I'm wet, by the way, everyone, don't send me private messages, I won't reply, I only have him in my heart. Far away in a mountain forest in a suburban county of Yanjing, Wenwen was sitting in front of the computer, fiddling with the mouse in boredom. The screen was showing the scene of the concert. Wenwen's eyes flickered, and no one knew what she was thinking. At this time, her phone rang. She looked down, suddenly got up, dropped the mouse, and rushed out of the door. Her figure flashed, and disappeared into the darkness. Chen Guang had just finished playing a single piano accompaniment, and he would wait until the last song of the concert to use 2 pianos, so he could finally take a breather. He drank a mouthful of water, and fell into ecstasy. Although he did not know what happened, the world of Qilin's arm was showing signs of completion. Thank God, today's work was not in vain. Chapter 536. A smile bloomed on Chen Guang's face. How could he not be happy that the world of the Qilin's arm, which he had no choice but to do with, had turned into an unexpected success? The pleasant surprise even made the sound of the piano in his hands become full of emotion. His fingers became more agile, and his 10 fingers turned into elves, flying up and down in the air. The piano music, which was originally only used as a foil, also had a different flavor. As singers, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage felt this change the most. Although they didn't know what happened to him, the 2 girls who had their hearts tied to him also became happy. After The Autumn of Mozart, the TV and online broadcast crew also realized that the identity of this temporarily replaced pianist was special. As long as there was a chance, they would give Chen Guang the camera. They even secretly used different ways to make him look good, and found all kinds of handsome close-ups to give him face. Whether it was the audience in front of the TV or online, they kept giving Chen Guang face. More and more people who didn't know him were curious about his identity, and as for those who knew him, they all sighed and thought that he was a perfect match. Previously, everyone said that for him to be able to get together with Jin Shiyue, it was like a toad eating swan meat. In the end, he was not a toad at all. Just based on his piano skills, just based on his inexplicable technique of playing 2 pianos at once, he was definitely a piano genius that only appeared once every few decades. Given time, he would definitely become a great person, and would definitely be able to leave a strong mark in the history of art. After all, he and Jin Shiyue were in the same circle. He was handsome and talented. He won the championship of the World Darts Championship in the morning and played the piano at the concert in the evening. The meaning of this guy's existence was to make people envious, jealous, and hate him. He didn't leave anyone a way out. This mood reached its peak again when Chen Guang began to play the last song, Summer Night Love, which also required two pianos. Unlike in The Autumn of Mozart, when people were caught off guard, this time everyone was already mentally prepared. Even when Chen Guang began to change positions, the camera kept focusing on him. Everyone watched as he raised his hand and turned his body. The moment he raised his right hand, his left hand suddenly disappeared, and the sound of the piano changed slightly. Then, when his right hand disappeared, the sound of the piano became a standard two pianos ensemble, confirming the previous speculation and analysis. Seeing it with their own eyes was far more shocking than reading the analysis of others on the internet. Waves of gasps sounded at the same time in countless places all over the country. Seeing it with their own eyes was far more shocking than reading the analysis of others on the internet. Finally, when the final song came to an end, Chen Guang raised the sky-piercing Holy Grail and sank his consciousness into it. He saw a massive arm gradually rising from the Cloud City's platform. Lioli was also particularly satisfied with his efficiency. "Boy, I didn't care you for nothing." Chen Guang couldn't be bothered with her and only focused on looking at his statue. The tendons on this arm were exactly the same as his own hand. He clenched his fist tightly, and after it stood up, it was 2,000 feet tall, giving off the feeling that he was raising his fist to the sky. Chen Guang was extremely satisfied with the shape of this statue. It could be considered a powerful and domineering appearance, living up to the amazing effect of the Qilin arm. Apart from that, the Qilin arm was also constantly sending him a lot of faith points. It was only slightly less than when Otto's statue had just been formed, as much as 18,000 units per day. When his mind returned to the outside world, Chen Guang got up and bowed slightly to the audience together with the other band members, which was considered a curtain call. On the other side, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage bowed together, and then began to express their gratitude to the audience who had come to the venue and to their televisions and computers. The two girls were very emotional. Although there were some accidents that almost ruined the concert, they managed to get through it without any mishaps. The effect was better than they had imagined, and the audience's emotions were also more fervent than they had imagined. At this moment, the audience all stood up and shouted in unison. Some were shouting the names of the two girls, and some were even shouting the names of Chen Guang or the Almighty Superman. In fact, both Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage knew that although tonight was their concert, the one who would really make a name for himself in the country tonight would definitely be Chen Guang. Needless to say, the news of him playing two pianos solo tomorrow and performing perfectly would appear on all major websites, online magazines, and television entertainment news. It wasn't just because of his identity as Jin Shiyue's boyfriend, but because of his shocking performance. He was going to become famous overnight. Up until now, the two girls still felt like they were dreaming. Even when they were interacting with the audience, they could not help but look at Chen Guang, who was sitting on the stage under the spotlight. The other members of the band looked at Chen Guang under the spotlight with envy. They were all in the band, and they were all playing accompaniment, but he could be looked up to by millions of people under the spotlight, while they could only hide in the dark, not knowing when they would be able to make a name for themselves. Of course, there was really nothing to be jealous of. With this ability of his, he was really invincible in the entertainment industry. Playing two pianos at the slightest disagreement, did the way you debuted have to be so overbearing? Lin Jingwei, who was in the VIP area, kept poking at Bai Hua's heart. "Brother Bai, aren't you embarrassed? Didn't you just say that brother Chen Guang couldn't help Jin Shiyue with her career? But in the blink of an eye, he saved such a hopeless situation. To be honest, if I were a woman and had a boyfriend like this, there's no need to say anything. I'd marry him first and think about other things later." Gao Yi secretly stepped on Lin Jingwei's foot and glared at him fiercely. Bai Hua was depressed and annoyed, but he also looked at Gao Yi gratefully. My sister-in-law is so gentle, knowing to save me some face at a time like this. Bai Hua did not know that Gao Ye was crying out for Sun Xiaoxuan. She was afraid that Chen Guang and Jin Shiyue would put on an act. At this time, Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage repeatedly persuaded the audience to leave the stage and go home to rest. It was late at night, and everyone was tired, but no one listened. Gradually, the audience's voices became more and more unified. Chen Guang. Brother all-purpose. Chen Guang. Brother all-purpose. Sing a song. Sing a song. It turned out that more and more people in the audience knew that the talented pianist was actually Jin Shiyue's boyfriend. This was a heaven-sent opportunity, so how could they not encourage the two of them to make love on stage? Since the two of you have already announced your relationship, and you're now Jin Shiyue's boyfriend, don't even think about running away quietly. Sing a chorus. Sing a chorus. Sing a chorus. Someone took the lead and shouted. It seemed that what everyone wanted to see most was for Chen Guang and Jin Shiyue to sing a love song together. Jin Shiyue's face turned red. She was so nervous that she didn't know what to do. But at this time, Jiang Yage, who was standing at the side, joined in. Sing a chorus. Sing a chorus. That's right. Let's sing Hiroshima Love. Jin Shiyue waved her hands. Don't. Don't. Not good. Chen Guang has never sung before. Chen Guang's expression changed. He just wanted to run away, but on the other side, some unlucky scumbag, no, it was a guitar player who found a microphone and shoved it in front of him. On the big screen, the audience saw this scene and cheered even more happily. If you don't sing, we won't leave. Sing a song. Sing a song. Even the people in front of the TV and computers were happily shouting at the screen, as if the people on the other side could hear their support. Jiang Yage ran up and grabbed Chen Guang's shoulder, dragging him to the front of the stage. Brother-in-law, come here. Chen Guang was dragged to the center of the stage by Jiang Yage with a pale face. Under the spotlight, he stood shoulder to shoulder with Jin Shiyue. At that moment, the audience felt that the man was tall and handsome, and the woman was gentle and pretty. They were really a match made in heaven. Chapter 537. I don't know how to sing. Forget it. No way. Everyone's looking forward to it. If you don't sing, we won't be able to leave today. Jiang Yage tried her best to tease her. On the other side, Lin Jingwei and Gao Ye retreated with pale faces. Don't. Jiang Yage, don't do it. Don't. Oh no. Lin Jingwei held his head, as if he had seen the biggest tragedy in the world. Gao Ye shook her head violently. It's too scary, too scary. Bai Hua didn't understand. What's wrong with you guys? Lin Jingwei seemed to have made up his mind to recall this painful experience. When he was a freshman, we dragged him to a KTV and forced him to sing. And then? Bai Hua asked. Lin Jingwei and Gao Ye looked like they couldn't bear to think about it. We regretted it for 3 whole months. Bai Hua quietly took out his earphones and turned the volume to the maximum. On the other side, Chen Guang couldn't dissuade Jiang Yage. He smiled bitterly and nodded. Okay. I'll sing a few lines. Just a few simple lines. But I'm not that good. Please don't take offense. No. As long as you're willing to sing, Jiang Yage said cheerfully. Lin Jingwei and Gao Ye cursed in their hearts. You're just saying that's not good. Then I'll be the singing sage when I'm tone deaf. 10 minutes later, tens of thousands of viewers left the stage in an orderly and peaceful atmosphere. 5 minutes ago, Zhongnan TV cut off the live stream and began to play commercials. Chen Guang's Weibo had more than 12 million followers, but now he had lost more than 100,000 followers. In short, the whole thing was unbearable for many people, and they blamed themselves deeply. Encouraging Jin Shiyue to sing a song with her boyfriend must have been the worst decision they had made this year. As the saying goes, the demonic voice lingers on for 3 days. It should be at this level. Even when they left the venue, everyone's minds were still in a daze, and their consciousness was a little muddled. They were like walking corpses. What? You asked us how Chen Guang sang. Let's just forget about it and look forward to a better tomorrow, okay? Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage were the first victims. As two professional singers, they kept singing Hiroshima Love in a low voice over and over again because they had almost forgotten how to sing this song. If it was just out of tune, the two of them would not have suffered such heavy injuries. What was more frightening was that Chen Guang's singing had a magical quality that could shock the listener's mind and cause them to completely forget the correct tune. The two of them simply could not understand. A person with such tyrannical piano-playing skills should have a very good sense of music, but why did he sing like this? Did God open many windows for him and then shut his mouth fairly? Congratulations, congratulations. In short, today's concert was very successful. Everyone is happy, ah ha ha. Bai Hua and the others gathered backstage. Chen Guang's face was stiff, and he was not very happy. He was also puzzled like everyone else. He thought that since his piano skills had improved, there would be no problem with his singing voice. He felt that he should be able to control the tune easily, but as soon as the words left his mouth, he regretted it. Sigh, Brother Wei's upright image has been smeared with a layer of stain. I'm happy. Since I'm unhappy, I can't let others be happy. He crossed his arms and stood between Jin Shiyue and Bai Hua. Thank you for your support, Brother Bai Hua. I didn't disappoint Brother Bai Hua, did I? Did you like the song I played? Bai Hua rolled his eyes. All right, I've already accepted my fate. Don't be so ruthless. Fine, I admit that you can help Shiyue in her career, okay? This is also good. I can see Shiyue find true happiness, and I can finally let go of my hands and feet to pursue my own life. As he spoke, Bai Hua turned his head and put his arm around Lin Jingwei's shoulder. By the way, Jingwei, does Chenyu like savory tofu pudding or sweet tofu pudding? Chen Guang coughed. Get lost, I like stinky tofu pudding. Today, he was also the center of attention. Even backstage, the concert's artists and staff took advantage of the end of the concert and were about to go to the celebration party to greet Chen Guang. Chen Guang also gave Jin Shiyue enough face and acted as half a host. He was well-mannered and polite. Later, he would naturally have a part in the celebration party. After all, he was the hero of today's event. At this moment, Jiang Yage, who had changed her clothes, ran out from backstage with a pale face. She went to Chen Guang's side and pulled him to the side. Not good, not good. Chen Guang was puzzled. What's wrong? Just now, there was news from the celebration party's hotel. They said there's a minibus with a police car behind it. Jiang Yage panted. And then, Sister Shiyue's grandfather is also watching the live broadcast of our concert. He saw you on TV just now, and now he wants to see his grandson-in-law. He purposely launched a surprise attack without informing us. If it wasn't for the hotel's insider, you would have walked right into a trap. Chen Guang was also frightened. Although Jin Shiyue and Jiang Yage's family background was only a rumor, he had more or less guessed it over the past few days. If he and Jin Shiyue really had that kind of relationship, then it would be fine to meet the elders. But now, it was just an impostor. What grandson-in-law? I don't want to meet him. If I meet him and accidentally give him a gift, then it would really be like stuffing mud into my pants. Even if it's not sh*t, it's sh*t. The old man wasn't feeling well, so he left first. At this time, Jean Shuiwa also changed her clothes and hurriedly ran over. Oh no, oh no. Yage, quickly send Qin away. Jiang Yage nodded and pulled Qin to the back door. Let's run first. Qin nodded and turned to say hello to Lin Jingwei. Little Lin, let's talk another day. I have something important to do today, so I'll go first. The two trotted all the way to the back door of the workers' sports complex. Jiang Yage sent Qin out of the door. Looking left and right, she looked around and saw that there was no one else around. Suddenly, she called out, Dear Guang. Don't go crazy. Qin shuddered as if he had been electrocuted. Jiang Yage pounced on him and kissed his face. Even if you're unhappy, I have to kiss you. Qin pushed her away. Damn it. Don't make trouble. Forget it. I've kissed you. I really have to go. He was really afraid of Jiang Yage. It's not like there's no one who doesn't want you. Is there a need to act like an unscrupulous shrew? Every time they meet, do you have to scare people? Thank you for today. Jiang Yage said again. No need to thank me. It's just a small matter. When a friend is in trouble, I help him. Goodbye, goodbye. Jiang Yage smiled. She took out her phone and waved it in front of Qin. Anyway, thank you very much. If it weren't for you, our concert would have been over. Remember to open WeChat when you go back tonight. It's a real super reward. You definitely won't work for nothing today. For a moment, Qin felt conflicted in his heart. He wanted to take a cheap look, but at the same time, he felt that something was amiss. However, Jiang Yage did not give him a chance to speak and slammed the door shut. Forget it. Let's go home. Qin went around the back door and went out of the workers' sports complex. In any case, today was a big harvest. Chapter 538. There was still a sea of people outside. Tens of thousands of people leaving at the same time made the outside of the workers' stadium crowded with people. Qin put on his hat and followed the crowd out. Suddenly, when he went down the stairs, he looked down and saw a family of 3. His eyes narrowed. This family looked sloppy and ordinary. A pair of middle-aged men and a son who looked like a high school student walked down with the crowd. They belonged to the kind of ordinary people who would not be found if they were thrown into a crowd. But Qin remembered this family clearly. He would recognize them even if they turned into ashes. When his family's hot pot restaurant had a food poisoning incident, if he remembered correctly, the muscles of the high school student's son's legs had completely atrophied because of the poisoning. Not to mention walking, it was difficult to even lift his legs in bed. The court ruled that the Qin family had to pay a few million yuan in compensation, and 800,000 yuan was awarded to this family. At that time, this family also made a lot of noise. But now they appeared here, safe and sound. Especially the high school student's son, he had grown up to be at least 185 meters tall. He was not small either. If he remembered correctly, some time ago, his father had just paid off the court's judgment. When the family went to the scene to collect the money, only the parents came, not the son. So that's how it is, you have recovered long ago. You have lived a good life, and you took the 800,000 yuan with peace of mind. At that time, Qin had seen this kid's poison injury with his own eyes. Looking at the skinny and bruised legs, he also felt that he should pay the money. But now, he discovered that the other party was perfectly fine, and a huge suspicion suddenly arose in his heart. He was injured to that extent, and he was fine. And he could recover completely. No one would believe it if he said there was no ghost. He was about to push through the crowd and rush down to stop the family, to find them and find out what was going on, but there was a scream next to him. Chen Guang. Oh my God. Brother all-rounder. Give me an autograph. He accidentally raised his head too high, and people recognized him with delight. The crowd suddenly became restless, and many people tried to squeeze in his direction. In fact, he shouldn't have been so popular under normal circumstances, but today's situation was special. He had just shown off his godly skills at the concert, so it was only right that these people who had seen the live scene worshipped him. By the time Chen Guang managed to squeeze his way out of the crowd, the family had already disappeared. He stomped his foot angrily. F***ck. Until he got a taxi back to the hotel, he was still absent-minded. His mind was filled with the image of the happy family. It wasn't that he couldn't bear to see others living a good life, but if the so-called good life of others was built on fraud and deceit, and the ones who were cheated of their money were their own families, then it wouldn't be right no matter what. It's not that I can't accept your family's recovery, but your recovery is too complete. It looks like you've recovered a long time ago, but when you came to ask for money last month, you said you've become disabled. Previously, Chen Guang had also visited a few families in private. Those families were mostly fine, but the signs of poisoning were far less serious than the children of this family. Perhaps some people would say, "You're already so rich now, why do you have to be so concerned about a mere 800,000 yuan?" But everyone understood the logic, but having money doesn't mean you can be cheated for free. When Ma Yun was shopping on the street, and a 100 yuan note fell out of his pocket, do you think he would bend down to pick it up? The more he thought about it, the more annoyed Chen Guang was. Xan Qin obviously wouldn't be back tonight, so he called his dad. You finally remember that you have a dad. I thought you became famous and had a girlfriend, so you forgot about your dad. As soon as the call connected, Chen Guoli started to complain. You're not even as obedient as Ling Shan. A few days ago, Ling Shan remembered Army Day and said that I'm a retired soldier, so she bought me a sweater. Hearing those words, Chen Guang felt a mouthful of blood welling up in his heart as he continued, if I recall correctly, I just called you and Mom last week. Also, why did you buy a sweater on such a hot day? Don't tell me it's a clearance sale. So what if it's a discount? I can't wear it just because it's on sale. At least she bought it for me. What about you? By the way, have you been on steroids recently? I saw you winning the World Darts Championship on the sports channel in the morning, and now you're playing the piano on Zhongnan TV. Your mom was so angry that she was supposed to play the finale of Ode to Joy today, but your little bullet piano blocked it. Chen Guoli said again. It sounded like he was lecturing someone, but in fact, he couldn't hide the smugness in his words. I can't help it. Ever since I became enlightened, I became a genius. Do you know what a genius is? I can solve calculus at the age of 3, solve Goldbach's conjecture at 8, and win the Tchaikovsky Music Prize at 12. I was enlightened a little late, but it's fine. I can still live for a few more decades. Dad, you can also appear in the history books in the future. You can be called the greatest Chen Guang's father. Chen Guoli said, save it. If you have something to say, just say it. I'm watching the game. By the way, remember to do a paternity test with me when you come back. Your mother and I both think that you're too monstrous. You don't look like my genes at all. I seriously suspect that you were born with the wrong baby in the hospital. Chen Guang was speechless. After being jested by Qinguli for a long time, Qingguang still couldn't get any information about the poisoning case. Once the topic started, Qinguli would start to ramble. He would ask if Qingguang and Jiang Ye's relationship was harmonious. He would then ask if Qingguang and Jin Shuiyue were faking their relationship. Or else, he would teach Qingguang a lesson. He told Qingguang to be down to earth and not think about selling his body to get to the top of life. In the end, Qinguli couldn't change the topic, so he said, "Anyway, I've already given the money. What's the big deal? We don't need the money now. Can we not dwell on the past? Look forward and be optimistic, okay?" Then, this irresponsible father decisively hung up the phone, turned off his phone and disappeared. Qingguang blankly sat by the bed. He naturally knew that Qinguli was hiding something. There must be something behind the poisoning case, and it might even involve someone extraordinary. Qingguang knew that, but he still felt unhappy in his heart. At the very least, Qingguang should let him know some inside information and let him decide if he wants to let this matter end here or get to the bottom of it. You can't make a decision for me, and I'm not a kid anymore. I can't accept your perfunctory way of doing things. It wasn't just Qinguli and Qingguang who were playing dumb. All the uncles in Lilai County who knew the slightest bit of inside information seemed to have been greeted by Qinguli. That was why Qingguang had returned to Lilai County several times to investigate on his own, but to no avail. Even when Qingguang sent Fan Lingshan back to Lilai County to acknowledge her family, he only allowed him to stay in the county for a day before he was half-willingly chased out of the county. Of course, at that time, Qingguang was also busy dealing with the statue of God and the heavy responsibility on Liuli's shoulders. He was so busy that he didn't have time to spare. However, things were different now. Today, he finally managed to deal with the statue of God with the Qilin arm by accident. So far, in the world and the cup that he had experienced, he had completed a grand slam for all the god statues that could be planted. Without the risk of becoming the king of anal prolapse at any time, Qingguang no longer had any worries in his heart. Coincidentally, he bumped into that family, so he couldn't help but start to think about the past that had caused him so much trouble. He stomped his feet in anger and gritted his teeth as he muttered to himself, "Forget it, since all of you are playing dumb with me, I'll do it myself." If he went back to his hometown and faced that group of uncles who had beaten him up, he would only repeat the same mistake. He would continue to look for those ordinary victims of the poisoning case, but he wouldn't be able to find any clues. Qingguang felt that being able to bump into this family in Yanjing was simply a great thing that fell from the sky. They were the best entry point to investigate the truth. How can you recover like this? You're like a gecko that has its tail broken and reborn. But now that he had lost them, how could he find them in such a huge Yanjing with so many people? Or should he go back to Dechuan and wait for them? This could also be considered as a solution. Perhaps this was the only way. Forget it, he would go to bed. Just as he was about to lie down on the bed, the phone rang again. He picked it up and saw that it was Xuelin, who he had almost forgotten about. Make a long story short. In front of little comrade Xue, Qingguang was still able to put on airs. That was how confident he was when others had something to ask of him. "I'm very sorry to call you so late. Brother Qingguang, it's like this. In order to keep my body in a high-intensity training state at all times, I'm now doing assault training in a special training camp in Shund. It takes about 4 hours to drive from the training camp to Yanjing, so, if you're ready, please let me know in advance, and I'll find a car to come back immediately." Qingguang had just been perfunctory with Xuelin before. He didn't expect him to come so soon, so he found an excuse to let him waste time to cover up the awkwardness of calling him over so casually. But Xuelin took his words as the golden rule, and even plunged into the special training camp. Okay, I'll see how it goes tomorrow. Chen Guang counted the time and was about to hang up after saying that he would just get 600,000 yuan the day after tomorrow. On the other end, Wu Tong's voice suddenly came from Shuo Lin's side. "Give me the phone." Wu Tong said to Shuo Lin fiercely, and then said, "You've made me so depressed. Finally, I got a phone. Little Shuo Z, go somewhere cool, the phone is mine." "Hey! Sister Wu Tong!" Shuo Lin shouted in a low voice, "This is a closed training, you can't take a phone, it's against the rules. Don't get me into trouble." "Nonsense, you're the one who got into trouble. Who asked you to be so cocky in front of me? It's too late for you to regret it now. If I'm caught by the disciplinary committee, I'll also say that you borrowed my phone, and you'll be the scapegoat," Wu Tong said proudly. Shuo Lin's low voice was getting further and further away. Obviously, Wu Tong had taken the phone away. She kept her promise. "You ungrateful little brother, how long have you been in Yanjing? You don't even know how to call me. You only care about kissing your celebrity girlfriend all day long, don't you?" Wu Tong's muffled voice was heard. It seemed that she was hiding in a place with a lot of echoes. Chen Guang guessed that it was most likely the toilet. He said angrily, "You don't even have a phone. I heard from Sister Tang Ying that the number you called her is not in service. How can I call you? Where's the telepathy? Also, what celebrity girlfriend? You know, other people were afraid that Su Lijing would settle the score with me, so they gave me a protective talisman. I dared to fight with Su Lijing to the death because I thought I had you, a second-generation official, to back me up. But you, at the critical moment, I didn't even see you. I was so scared that I almost had a nervous breakdown, and now you're blaming me." Wu Tong was also quite embarrassed. She sighed after a long while. "I'm sorry for putting my dad in trouble." Chen Guang waved his hand at the air. "I know what you're apologizing for. Uncle Wu also helped a lot. It's more convenient for him to do his work by sending you away. By the way, why don't you come to the training camp to see me? I've been locked up for more than a month, and I'm going moldy. Can you bring me some fresh air from outside?" Wu Tong rolled her eyes and revealed her real purpose. Chen Guang hesitated. "This isn't a good idea. Can I enter the special training camp? I don't believe that I'll be shot before I even get close to them." "You couldn't enter before, but you can now." "Why?" "Because of your good disciple, little Shuo Z. His words carry more weight than mine in the army. You can come in as his personal instructor." Obviously, Wu Tong had planned this when she snatched the phone. To be precise, Wu Tong had been planning this ever since she met Shuo Lin in the closed special training camp yesterday. Chen Guang's mind also became active. On one hand, it was not easy for him to come to Yanjing, so it was reasonable for him to visit Wu Tong. On the other hand, perhaps he could try to find the whereabouts of the family in Yanjing through Wu Tong or Shuo Lin. Also, he could not get through to Wenwen's phone, nor could he find her on the internet, so he felt uneasy. If he added all three things together and stuffed them into the training camp, there might be a glimmer of hope at the end of the tunnel. In such a big country, what was the most convenient way to find people? It was the state machine. "Okay, I'll come tomorrow." "How do I come? Can you send me an address?" Chen Guang asked. "No need, I'll arrange it. Just go out tomorrow morning, and there'll be a car to pick you up," Wu Tong said casually. "How do you know how to pick me up without even asking me where I am?" Chen Guang asked a super stupid question. Wu Tong's answer was 2 words. "Hee hee." Chen Guang instantly understood. "I'm not going to talk to you anymore. The instructor is here, so I have to hide my phone. My phone is on vibrate, so don't call me later. I'll hide it in a super secret place." Damn, luckily I brought a plastic bag. Little Schwa Z, that broken phone, can forget about taking it back. Hang up yourself, I'll let you hear some interesting sounds. Ever since the particularly interesting and large-scale incident with Chen Guang at the hospital, Wu Tong had obviously opened some kind of Pandora's box in her body. Her moral integrity was gone, and there were signs that she was developing in the direction of Dirty Tong. She seemed to be about to explode after being locked in the closed military camp for the past month. Rustle, rustle, it was the sound of the plastic bag. Then, Pa Ji, Ziliu, Lord Guang, who was lying on the bed, suddenly had a certain image appear in his mind as he silently looked at the 3 words on the phone. He thought to himself, should I hang up the phone and call back? Vibrate, the first-generation iron spear raised his head and roared at the sky, waiting to kill him. Chapter 539. He silently hung up the phone and felt the cool breeze blowing through the window. He felt a little sad and a little pain in the ass. Chen Guang felt that Sister Wu Tong was in charge of killing and not burying. Although she was enjoying it, he was left hanging in the air. He couldn't go up or down. Although he knew that there would be some special services in this hotel, it was different now. He was also a public figure. It was impossible for him to have the courage to call for some special health care. Otherwise, the news would be released on the internet tomorrow. Jin Shiyue's rumored boyfriend is unwilling to be lonely and calls for a call girl late at night. There was another subtitle. Can the goddess's boyfriend really enjoy a happy sex life? The star's strange dreams beneath the surface love. This was King awkward. Forget it, the old man also had the Qilin arm. In the end, it was better to do it himself. It was just that there was no accompaniment to the wine. There was a tiger in the heart, but there was no rose. Wait, if I remember correctly, when I ran away from the workers' stadium, someone seemed to have said that there would be a large scale tonight. I almost forgot. He quickly turned on his phone and logged into WeChat. Sure enough, there was a string of message numbers behind the names of Jiang Yage and Jin Shiyue. He clicked on Jin Shiyue's message first. It was mostly about thanking him for coming to the concert today. She was especially grateful that he had saved the day and so on. There was a hint of reservation between the lines, which was her style. Returning to the initial interface, looking at Jiang Yage's smiling profile picture, Chen Guang only hesitated for 5 seconds before he decisively opened it. The ancients did not lie. Good people will be rewarded. I apologize for my impatience with you before. There were a total of 10 photos in front of him. Just as Jiang Yage said, it was an unprecedented large scale. It was comparable to a certain teacher Chen's photography work. All of them were taken by Jiang Yage herself in the bathroom. Unprecedented and unrestrained, her skin was covered in layers of fine water droplets, suffused with a strange pink color. It was unknown whether it was because of the light or because the blood in her body was boiling. One of the photos was taken from top to bottom, and one could see a small clump of black grass hidden in the middle of 2 mountain peaks. Her perfect figure was completely exposed, and she was clearly showing off. Look, my lower abdomen is so flat, without any excess fat. There was another one where she was sitting on the edge of the bathtub, and it was taken from the bottom up. The lens seemed to be covered with mist, obscuring a certain mysterious area. However, the more hazy the beauty, the more it could stir the fire in others' hearts. The biggest one was a front view of her in the mirror. She was standing very close to the mirror, and her exquisite figure was clearly displayed in the mirror. Everything looked so clear, and the expression on her face was hazy and charming, but her left hand formed a V shape, betraying her usual playfulness and cuteness. Damn it! If it wasn't for the fact that he could see her face in 2 of the photos, and if it wasn't for the fact that her figure looked very familiar, Chen Guang would have thought that she had found these photos on the internet. Sigh, towards this classmate, Master Guang was also helpless. Although he knew that something was wrong, he was also a normal man. He really couldn't resist the unscrupulous photo attack of the dignified left and right-hand duo's top superstar, Enchantress Jiang Yage. My Buddha, I repent to you, I'm about to fall. As the saying goes, golden spears and armored horses fight 100 battles against 1,000 armies. About 10 minutes later, Chen Guang only silently threw a pile of tissues to the side of the bed, and then gave a simple reply to Jiang Yage. Awesome, I'm done. Thank you. The photos have been deleted, don't worry. Jiang Yage must have fallen asleep and didn't reply. Every concert was a huge physical test for the artists. They had sung and danced on stage for more than 2 hours today, and they must be exhausted. After a good sleep, Chen Guang woke up to a series of hurried knocks on the door early the next morning. He didn't even have time to wash up. He hurriedly put on his clothes and opened the door. Chen Guang was in a bad mood, and he cursed, "Who the hell is so wicked as to come knocking on my door so early in the morning?" He opened the door and saw 2 men in military uniform standing at the door. He immediately understood that they must be the people that Wu Tong had promised to pick him up yesterday. "You're Chen Guang, right?" The square-faced man in military uniform said coldly with a straight face. Chen Guang felt that there was something wrong with this guy. "I didn't offend you, so why do you act like you've eaten gunpowder? Why is your tone so harsh?" "That's me." "That's good. Come with us. We're on a tight schedule, and we don't have time to waste with you," the other black-faced man said as he reached out to pull Chen Guang. F***CK. Chen Guang was immediately unhappy. "Are you guys crazy? Not only did you come knocking on my door early in the morning without a word, I'll let you off a little since you're here to help. But for no reason, you're giving me a cold shoulder. I didn't even let you take my things, and you're dragging me away. Did I dig up your ancestral graves or what did I do to offend you? What's wrong with you? Hey, you too. Don't overdo it." As Chen Guang spoke, he exerted a little force in his arm and broke free from the square-faced man who reached out to pull him. "We're on a mission. I hope you'll cooperate." The square-faced man's face darkened. "All right, I don't know who gave you the order, and I don't understand why you're acting like you're the best in the world. But if I were you, and I was really in such a hurry, since you could find me here, you should know my phone number. You should have called me half an hour earlier to inform me instead of arresting me like you're arresting a criminal." Chen Guang turned around and pointed at the things in the room. "Are you guys blind? Can't you see that there are bags of things waiting to be packed in my room? You're soldiers, swift and decisive, but I'm not." Seeing that the square-faced man wanted to say something, Chen Guang waved his hand. "All right, shut up. I'm not going to serve you anymore." As he spoke, he took out his phone and planned to tell Wu Tong. If her so-called private car was what these 2 people were like, then he should save it. It might be more comfortable if he ran over himself. The 2 clearly didn't expect that not only would Chen Guang be uncooperative, but he also had such a bad temper. "You dare to be unreasonable after committing a crime? You've got guts." The black-faced soldier was obviously not someone with a good temper. He glared at Chen Guang and raised his hand to grab Chen Guang's phone. Chen Guang quickly retracted his right hand and hid the phone behind his back. His left hand, which moved later, grabbed the black-faced soldier's wrist and exerted a little more strength. The black-faced soldier felt as if he was being clamped by an iron clamp. No matter how much strength he exerted, he couldn't pull his wrist back. Instead, Chen Guang's grip became tighter and tighter. The shock in his heart was indescribable. He wasn't a flashy martial artist, His close-range combat skills were ranked among the top in the Yanjing military. Yet, he was easily restrained by someone's left hand. "Let go!" he shouted. Chen Guang raised his left hand and pushed him back. The black-faced soldier staggered back a few steps before he could stabilize himself. The two exchanged blows for less than 3 seconds, but Chen Guang had completely gained the upper hand with just his left hand. The black-faced soldier's breathing became rapid. His chest heaved up and down. He was a little emotional. The square-faced soldier looked at Chen Guang with caution. He felt that something was wrong. Chen Guang's strength was stronger than he had imagined. That's not right. The intelligence showed that he was just a powerless executive of a state-owned enterprise. He had the tendency to flee overseas. The two of us were ordered to come and restrain him. How could a so-called executive have such strength? Stop joking. There must be a problem somewhere. Forget it. I'll stabilize the situation first. Hey Z, look at your communicator. Did you see wrongly? The square-faced soldier turned his head slightly and ordered the black-faced soldier beside him. Hazy nodded and quickly turned around to take out his communicator. Chen Guang was already very impatient. "All right, that's it. I won't make things difficult for you. It's my fault. I shouldn't have disturbed the important national equipment. I can't afford to provoke you, but I can at least hide." Chen Guang waved his hand and ordered them to leave. He planned to close the door first. As a normal person, he really couldn't communicate with these two guys who were spewing bullets. "Wait. Mr. Chen, wait." The square-faced soldier raised his hand. Chen Guang turned to look at him. "What? You're afraid that I'll tell on you? It's fine. Don't worry. I'm not a 3-year-old who will tell on the teacher for no reason. Maybe you're really busy. You've troubled the two of you to come and pick me up. Maybe I've really delayed your important national affairs. I understand. I'm really sorry. There seems to be some misunderstanding here." Hey Z had just looked at his communicator. He looked a little embarrassed. "It's my negligence. I confused Mr. Chen with our other mission target. I almost believed you. Can't you be more professional? You're soldiers. This isn't a primary school kid's house. As taxpayers, we pay tens of millions in taxes every year to support you guys." Chen Guang curled his lips. The two of them were red in the face and extremely embarrassed. The black-faced soldier on the other side, Hey Z, had no choice but to look at his communicator again. It showed that this Chen Guang seemed to be the special instructor of Shun's special training camp. It was fine to show him a name. Hey Z used his hand to cover most of the communicator's screen. He only revealed 2 names and showed them to Chen Guang. "Mr. Chen, look. This is really a misunderstanding." Chen Guang looked at the name between Hey Z's fingers. He was amused. What a coincidence. It showed that it was Chen Guang. "It's like this." The 2 messages came one after the other. Chen Guang's was first, and Mr. Chen's was second. "His room is opposite yours." When I saw the second message, I thought that the person in the information department typed the wrong words. I also thought that Chen Guang quietly changed rooms. This is really... Hey Z scratched his head. The square-faced soldier looked at him speechlessly. This Hey Z was good at everything. He dared to fight, and his skills were excellent. It was just that he was careless sometimes. This was a joke. "Captain Qian, you talk to Mr. Chen. I'll go to room 402 opposite to find Chen Guang." Although Hey Z was careless, he was not stupid. He turned around and slipped away. Chen Guang's room 403 and Chen Guang's room 402. It was easy to get them mixed up if one was not careful. Hazy began to knock on the door again. Chen Guang looked at Captain Qian. He turned around to clean up the room and said, "Actually, Cheng and Chen's pronunciation is different. Captain Qian, you're from Dechuan, right? Do you have a nasal and lateral accent?" Captain Qian blushed. "That's true. I'm from Lilai County, Xiang City." Chen Guang coughed a few times. "What do you mean by hometown?" Thinking back carefully, all the boys in high school relied on guessing for the first pinyin question during the language exam. It was basically the same for the top classes. This was indeed the tradition of Lilai County. "That's awkward. I'm also from Lilai County. I graduated from Lilai High. What about you?" Chen Guang asked as he cleaned up. Captain Qian was slightly happy to meet someone from the same hometown in a foreign land. Then, he blushed and smiled bitterly. "My family was poor when I was young. I didn't go to high school and joined the army directly. It's good to be a soldier. Many of my buddies have joined the army. My dad is also a retired soldier." Captain Qian felt that although this specially hired instructor, Chen Guang, was a young man, he had a good upbringing. Of course, this was also because it was comfortable and pleasing to the eye to see someone from the same hometown. In fact, strictly speaking, Chen Guang didn't show much of a good temper just now. Chen Guang couldn't be bothered to haggle with them anymore. If they really wanted to arrest him and mistakenly treated him as a criminal, then there was really nothing strange about their attitude just now. He had already committed a crime, and they had already used the special forces. If they wanted to arrest him, they couldn't just let him eat a bowl of wontons and sing a song, right? The two chatted and became familiar with each other. However, Captain Qian didn't enter the door. Instead, he focused on the door of room 402 opposite. Blackie was still knocking on the door, but there was no movement from inside. Notebook, change of clothes, phone charger, tea, sports bag, dart box. Chen Guang was stuffing miscellaneous things into a large backpack. At this moment, the door of room 402 finally opened, but there was no one inside. Instead, a black muzzle peeked out. It was extremely creepy. This was the occupational danger of soldiers and police officers. Sometimes, you thought it was a small mission, but in the process of carrying out the specific mission, the situation often changed in an instant, and the next second, your life would be in danger. Every year, many soldiers and police officers would die in the line of duty. They used their lives to protect the country and the people's property and lives. This was the situation at this moment. In an instant, Chen Guang, Captain Qian, and Blackie's hair stood on end. Blackie's face darkened even more. Maldif *Ker, this executive named Chen Guang is at risk of absconding. It seems that it's not possible for him to abscond at all, but he was already prepared to run. However, he didn't expect the relevant departments to arrive so quickly. In a panic, he took out his weapon and planned to fight to the death. In a flash, Blackie suddenly dodged to the other side of the door, while Captain Qian rushed into Chen Guang's room. He opened his arms and subconsciously growled, "Mr. Chen, get down." He was really a competent and responsible soldier. In this life and death situation, he subconsciously expanded his body to protect Chen Guang. After all, Chen Guang's current identity was that of a civilian, while he was a soldier. Chen Guang, who was stuffing the dart box into his backpack, opened the box at lightning speed, grabbed a dart, raised his hand, and threw it. The dart flew out like lightning, passing by Captain Qian's waist and hitting the muzzle behind the door. Chapter 540. It was a long story, but from the moment Chen Guang saw that the situation was bad to the moment he threw the dart into the muzzle of the opponent's gun, only a second had passed. A scream came from behind the door of room 402, and the opponent's hand that was holding the gun was fractured. Chen Guang had practically used all the strength in his Qilin arm to throw the dart out of desperation. Even elites like Xuelin and He Zi weren't his opponents, so how could an ordinary person like Chen Guang deal with it? The pistol also fell to the ground, but Blackie reacted quickly. He raised his leg and kicked the door. There was a loud bang, and another scream came from behind the door. In the next moment, Blackie had already pounced in and pressed the middle-aged man who was hiding behind the door to the ground. Captain Qian glanced at Chen Guang and thanked him. He then turned around to help He Zi completely control Chen Guang. On the other hand, Chen Guang did not feel anything as he calmly packed his luggage. When he was done, he carried his big bag to the door of room 402. Inside, He Zi and Captain Qian had already tied up the state-owned enterprise executive like a big dumpling. The gun that fell to the ground was also locked and held in Captain Qian's hand. Captain Qian looked at the muzzle in shock. The entire tungsten steel dart was completely embedded in the gun barrel, and only a small part of the tail was exposed. Chen Guang didn't shoot just now, or else he would have been injured by the explosion. The more Captain Qian looked, the more shocked he was. This special instructor was a bit too powerful. From the sudden change to him throwing the dart and hitting the muzzle, it was less than 0.5 seconds. Moreover, at that time, his body was completely spread out, and the opponent's muzzle was hidden behind the door. The flight path of the dart was probably extremely small. No, if I remember correctly, I should have completely blocked it at that time. In other words, his dart made a turn in the air, and then stabbed into the muzzle with such a terrifying force. What kind of amazing eyesight, what kind of terrifying strength, what kind of swift and fierce reaction, this person was playing with the darts to the point of perfection. Captain Qian, the surname Cheng's right hand has a comminuted fracture. He Zi checked Chen Guang's injury and said in shock. Oh my God. Captain Qian sucked in a breath of cold air. At this time, Chen Guang stood at the door with an innocent face and said helplessly, "It seems that your mission is quite important. Why don't you go about your business and I'll go to Shund by myself?" Captain Qian waved his hands. No, no, no. It's also our mission to pick you up. Don't worry about it. Blackie and I are just special agents in charge of the actual operation. The local troops and the police are on their way. We'll hand him over to them immediately and there'll be nothing left for us to do. Soldiers had always worshipped the strong, not to mention that Chen Guang was ridiculously strong. Chen Guang's move just now, in addition to the strength he displayed when he easily pinched He Zi with his left hand, was enough to make Captain Qian and He Zi respect him from the bottom of their hearts. The three of them waited together for more than 10 minutes, and the backup came late. When they heard that Chen Guang actually carried a gun with him, the level of the case was raised again. Previously, some of his problems were still in doubt, but he actually took it out when he was being investigated. This could only mean that the problem with him was more serious than they had imagined. After a while, Chen Guang finally got into Captain Qian and He Zi's car and went to Shun's special training camp together. Instructor Chen, this time, are you going to the special training camp to train Captain Shuao alone, or do we all have the opportunity? After sitting in the car for a short while, the outspoken He Zi couldn't help but ask. He even changed his title to instructor. Last night, Wu Tong's phone call had been hung up too quickly, and Chen Guang didn't know how she communicated with the special training camp. For a moment, he really didn't know how to answer He Zi's question. He was afraid that he would say something wrong, and it wouldn't match up with Wu Tong and Xuelin's communication with the troops. It was a small matter to cheat Xuelin on the issue of discipline, but he couldn't cheat Sister Wu Tong. Hey Z, have you forgotten the military discipline? Don't ask questions that you shouldn't ask. Captain Qian saw that Qin Guang didn't want to talk about it, so he shut He Zi's mouth. The three of them chatted along the way, and halfway through the car, He Zi suddenly said, "Instructor Qin, I don't want to criticize you, but you really have a bad temper. When you grabbed my hand just now, I thought it was clamped by steel pliers. Come on, you guys. I don't even know what's going on. I had a good sleep early in the morning, and it's fine that I was knocked out of bed by the two of you, but the moment you came, you started to talk nonsense. You even said that I committed a crime, and you even touched me first. How can I not be angry?" Chen Guang said angrily. Captain Qian apologized again. "It's a misunderstanding. It's all a misunderstanding." Chen Guang, who was sitting in the back, pursed his lips. "Misunderstanding your face. It seems that the two of you usually handle cases like this, but it's no wonder." Chen Guang pulled out his gun at the slightest disagreement today. It shows that most of the criminals that the two of them usually face are vicious people, and the cases that they handle are also major cases. Naturally, when they are on a mission, they are more vicious than ordinary police officers. Looking at their organization, they belong to the military, but they do some police-related work. Although they didn't ask which unit they belong to, they can't run away from the word "special service" in front of their names. Perhaps they are similar to Xuelin's special team in the 5 capitals, specializing in some urgent and major situations that ordinary police officers and special forces can't handle. Oh right, after we go in, Instructor Qin, you must not wander around. Although you are a specially hired instructor, Shun's special training camp is a bit special. It has been many years since a non-staff member has entered Shun's special training camp. After going through a twisting and turning path for an hour, the tall green wall in front of them stood impressively in the valley. On both sides of the road were 2 mountains, and the solid wall that was several feet high was built at the exit of the valley. There were several dark holes on the wall, and no one knew how many pairs of eyes were watching outside. At the bottom of the high wall was a large iron gate that looked very thick. Even a layman like Chen Guang could smell the unusual atmosphere from the outside of Shun's special training camp. Captain Qian also greeted Chen Guang in advance. "Okay, I understand. There are many rules in the army. I won't cause you any trouble." Chen Guang nodded. The two of them kept taking Chen Guang deep into the special training camp until Xuelin stood under a building with its back against the mountain. Only then did they hand him over. Xuelin was quite embarrassed. "Brother Chen Guang, I'm really sorry to trouble you to come personally." Chen Guang examined Xuelin. Although Xuelin didn't grow any stronger in the past 2 days, Chen Guang's vigor alone made him look more imposing than 2 days ago. Evidently, Chen Guang had been exposed to the sun a lot. "Don't be embarrassed. I didn't come for you." "Oh right, where is Sister Wu Tong?" In front of Xuelin, Chen Guang was straightforward and didn't hide anything from him. "Sister Wu Tong's usual training area isn't here. She has to go further in. So troublesome." Chen Guang was distressed. "Then do you have any way to use Yanjing Skynet to help me investigate people?" Xuelin was taken aback. She shook her head awkwardly. "I really can't. I can use my connections to get Brother Chen Guang in as a special instructor, but using Skynet's resources to investigate people and things belongs to Sister Wu Tong's special training area. I can't do that unless it's a war. It's a little taboo for me to do that with my connections." Chen Guang was really confused by the extremely complicated things here. He hurriedly said, okay, I won't beat around the bush. I came all the way here not only to help you with the special training, but also to find out where a few people are at this time. I don't believe that Wu Tong can't find a way to see me if she asks me to come here. Make a long story short, what should I do to get to her side? Ah, I had this idea before, but then Sister Wu Tong changed her mind. What did she say? She heard that you were going to teach me something, so she wanted to get you in as an external instructor for the special training personnel. But then I told her that Brother Chen Guang once said that special training can't be taught easily, and there's no way to teach more people, so she rejected this idea. I think she might be planning to find an excuse to ask for personal leave like she did last night to come here. Chen Guang was in a dilemma. If what Shuo Lin said was true, then didn't he come here for nothing? Although it was rare to meet Wu Tong, and he was very happy, and he might even be able to take advantage of her, his main purpose was not here. His motive for coming here was to investigate the family that was still in Yanjing and Wenwen's whereabouts. My motive was very pure. No, I have to think of another way. I must get to Wu Tong's special training area. Can you find a way to inform her? Ask her not to rush over tonight. I'll think about it carefully. I must go to her side. Arrange a place for me to stay, and I'll think about it by myself. You don't need to do surprise training for the time being. You're in good condition now. From now on, focus on recovery training, and I'll give you special training tomorrow night. Also, you better think about one thing in your heart. Other than your comrades, what else in this world can't you give up? I'm not joking with you. My special training can really kill you if you're careless. Shuo Lin nodded and brought Chen Guang to the room that was already arranged for him in the third-floor dormitory. However, after Chen Guang connected the computer, he didn't feel very good. There was no internet, wasn't this a trap? He was really bored, so he simply picked up the script of Women and started to ponder over it. He didn't know if it was because of the heavenly Holy Grail, but his memory seemed to be much better than before. In the past, it was more uncomfortable for him to memorize boring things. Now, although he didn't have a photographic memory, he basically memorized the script seriously, and his efficiency was at least several times higher than before. Chen Guang guessed that this might be due to the extra 200 years he lived in the Sea of Time. After all, he was experienced, knowledgeable, and had a strong memory. About an hour later, someone knocked on his door. It was Captain Qian. Instructor Chen, are you there? Opening the door, Chen Guang looked at Captain Qian in confusion. Captain Qian, what's the matter? Captain Qian rubbed his hands in embarrassment. It's like this, Instructor Chen. If I'm disturbing you, then I can't do anything about it. I thought you were going to say you're embarrassed. If you can't do anything about it, then why are you pretending to be embarrassed? Don't they all say that soldiers are straightforward? You should learn from your little brother, Hey Z. Just say what's the matter. I'm not used to you being like this. It's like this. When Hey Z and I were chatting with other colleagues, we talked about your amazing dart. My colleagues didn't quite believe it. So, what does this have to do with me? That's why I'd like to invite Instructor Chin to the training ground over there so that everyone can see it for themselves. Of course, if it's possible, we also hope that Instructor Chin can teach us a thing or two. After all, you're the instructor, right? Captain Qian was thick-skinned. He made such a shameless request without batting an eyelid. Chen Guang frowned. This wouldn't benefit him at all. I'm not familiar with you guys, so why would I teach you guys? Besides, I used countless lives and countless holes on my body to get my dart skills. If I really wanted to teach others, I really wouldn't know how. Well, maybe my request is a bit presumptuous, but I hope Instructor Chin can understand our feelings. You've seen it today. Our work is always in danger, so we're never willing to give up any opportunity to master more military skills. Maybe one day in the future, this skill can save our lives in actual combat. Qian Ming, step aside. You can't convince him. Let me do it. At this moment, a spirited white-haired old man walked in from the door. Qian Ming's body tensed up. He stood at attention and saluted the man. He said loudly, "General Tan." "General." Chen Guang's eyelids twitched. In this era of peace, there weren't many generals in the country. He didn't know much about military ranks, but looking at the rows of bars hanging on his chest, he seemed to be very powerful. The old man had quite an imposing manner and was quite deceitful. "Hello, General Tan." He also imitated Qian Ming's action and saluted. "You're Chen Guang, right? I heard about you from my subordinates. I also specifically watched the video of you participating in the World Championship. I'm very interested in your dart skills. You do have a very unique side in this aspect. You're even better than a little girl we've met before. You also know that little girl. Her name is Enchanting." General Tan had an easygoing smile on his face as he walked forward slowly. "Really? Thank you for your appreciation, General Tan. I don't deserve it." The other party could recognize Enchanting's name. Obviously, he was knowledgeable. Chen Guang's guess about General Tan's identity was a little higher. "You're a straightforward person, so I won't beat around the bush with you. I'm the person in charge of the Shun Special Training Camp. Now, as the Commander-in-Chief of the Shun Special Forces, I'm officially inviting Mr. Qin to be the chief instructor of the team's dart course. What do you think, Chen Guang?" General Tan spoke like this. He went straight to the point and cut the Gordian knot. Chen Guang hesitated. He didn't have the intention to be a soldier. He was born free and carried the big secret of the heavenly Holy Grail. It might not be a good thing to plunge into the military system. Are you going to say that you're undisciplined by nature and might not be able to adapt to the rules of the military? He didn't expect General Tan to see through him again. This old man wanted to seize the initiative in the conversation with every sentence. He was trying to suppress me in the conversation. Chen Guang's heart was alarmed. If it was a real young man, he might really be suppressed by General Tan's pressing style of conversation. But who was he? The old man was a monster who had lived in the Sea of Time for 200 years. The old man was the prophet and sage right Qin that 178 billion people in the Sea of Time had to look up to. You want to suppress me with just a few words. The salt I've eaten is more than the rice you've seen. Don't flaunt your seniority here. General Tan didn't know that his habitual domineering attitude had aroused the resistance in Chen Guang's heart. Chen Guang turned his body slightly and his aura suddenly changed. He smiled. I appreciate General Tan's good intentions, but I'll dispense with the military rank and organization. It's also my wish to contribute to the country. However, in Chen Guang's 20 years of simple life, I didn't really enjoy much help and care from the country. So to put it bluntly, it's not that I can't teach you, but there's no such thing as giving it to the country for free. His meaning was very clear. I can teach you, but I want benefits. It's an equivalent exchange. Don't fool me with an empty title and an empty promise. I won't fall for it. I'm also not interested in being a soldier. I have a very comfortable life outside. I don't need to run into the army to tie a rope around my neck. Chen Guang's words were resolute and didn't give General Tan any room to maneuver. General Tan's eyes narrowed slightly and stared straight at Chen Guang as if he wanted to see through Chen Guang's real thoughts. But he gave up after a moment. He felt it was incredible because the young man standing in front of him didn't have any of the immaturity he showed when he was chatting with Qian Ming. If he didn't see him with his own eyes, General Tan would almost think that he was facing a wise elder who had seen through all the vicissitudes of the world. Chen Guang still smiled calmly, but he was laughing in his heart. A young man who's not even 80 years old, how can you understand the life awareness of a 200-year-old monster? You're still trying to show off. Chapter 541. Young man, it's wrong for you to think like this. General Tan might have been in a high position for too long, so he was not used to Chen Guang's straightforward way of asking for benefits. He wanted to refute, but he felt that something was wrong. In his view of life, a person could give up anything for the country, even his life. How could he ask for benefits from the country just to be an instructor? He was a little unhappy and even wanted to use his identity to force Chen Guang, but he suddenly remembered a lot of things. This young man never seemed to be easy to deal with. Previously, the matter between him and Su Lijing caused a storm in the political circle, but it did not cause any big waves in the military circle. Only a few people paid more attention to this matter. What was done was done. Although Su Lijing's influence in the country was not small, as a technocrat, although he had some connections, his foundation was not deep. He was not like the traditional forces in the military and political circles who had been deeply rooted for many years. Making a move against Su Lijing wouldn't be a huge blow to China. Perhaps his so-called comrades might feel sympathy for him, but there's no guarantee that anyone would dare to stand up for him and fight to the death with Chen Guang. But in any case, it happened after all. Chen Guang, as a mere college student, brazenly overthrew a big name who had been rooted in the domestic economic circle for many years. In addition, his love with Jin Shuyue could not be ignored. Although in the eyes of the older generation like General Tan, no one was really optimistic about the young man's impulsive journey together. But that was Jin Shuyue, not an ordinary female artist who changed boyfriends every day. The special family behind her was destined that every love of hers was not vigorous, but it must be extraordinarily serious. In any case, before the relationship between the two broke, Chen Guang was already half a member of the Jin family. Not only that, Xiao Shui and Wu Tong also paid special attention to him. This guy also had a close relationship with the old man's grandson, so there was no need to force him. General Tan, I won't argue with you because it's meaningless. It's not that I'm being selfish, but there's something that's hard to say. How about this, since General Tan knows Axian Qin, why don't you simply let Axian Qin represent her sect and teach you the art of concealed weapons? This move of Chen Guang's was called retreating in order to advance. General Tan used the fact that he knew Axian Qin to hint to Chen Guang that they had other choices other than him. Chen Guang, on the other hand, did the opposite. I'm not interested in your matter. Since you know Axian Qin, why don't you go look for her? Although Chen Guang had never entered the inner circle of the so-called inner force users, from the people and events he had come into contact with so far, it was obvious that these people with inner force were extremely special in the country. If the military wanted to obtain their abilities, the price they would have to pay would be far greater than expected. As expected, when General Tan heard Chen Guang's words, he became even more embarrassed. He thought to himself, I'm looking for you because you look like you're easier to fool. You're not like those sects with inner force users who are all cunning and often ask for exorbitant prices. Just to get Thousand Despair sect out of the situation of seclusion, they had paid a huge price. They even pushed Axian Qin, a little girl with a perverse character, to the position of the China Escort Association president. Even then, they still couldn't start a formal negotiation with Thousand Despair sect. God knows how much it would cost Thousand Despair sect to send someone as an instructor. Comparing the two, General Tan gradually figured it out. Since Chen Guang's skills were stronger than Thousand Despair sect's eldest disciple, Axian Qin, and even Axian Qin was willing to follow by his side, since he showed signs of relenting, wasn't it only right and proper to give some benefits? It was his brain that short-circuited. General Tan's mood instantly lightened up when he thought of this. Chen Guang also noticed the change in him and laughed inwardly. He seemed to have understood. Chen Guang, what do you want? General Tan waved his hand slightly, signaling Qian Ming to leave. Qian Ming bowed and left the dormitory. Chen Guang thought for a moment, his eyes focused. I need a special identity. A license to kill? General Tan asked. Chen Guang asked in return, does such a thing really exist? You can pretend that he doesn't have it, but you can also pretend that he does. The so-called license to kill doesn't really allow a madman to kill without taking responsibility. It's only for some special cases. When a soldier is carrying out an important mission, he has the power to strike first against a confirmed criminal. But this doesn't mean that you can use this power to take revenge, nor does it mean that you can use it as a reason to rule over the people. General Tan had already guessed Chen Guang's request. I can give you an identity to be attached to my Shun special training camp. In terms of rank, you will be at the same level as Qian Ming. You can mobilize some of the intelligence resources that you want. Some of your requests will also be given special treatment under special circumstances. Other than that, although you have this special identity, we will not assign you any tasks. You will still have complete freedom. Of course, if you are willing, you can also consider forming your own special operations team, and we will fully cooperate with you in the selection of candidates. General Tan's words were not very clear. They were somewhat ambiguous, but the meaning was very clear. This was a real amulet within the system. Chen Guang nodded, deal. But forget about the special operations team. I don't have that much of a sense of justice. I prefer to sweep the snow in front of my own door. The youngsters nowadays really can't be compared to our generation. General Tan relaxed and teased after the matter was settled. Chen Guang laughed, you can't say it like that. If it's really a national crisis, of course, everyone has a responsibility. It's a man's wish to do his part and turn the world upside down. But the times are different now. Everyone has different demands in life. For example, the research companies that invest billions of US dollars in research and development every year, sit on countless patents, and break one technical barrier after another for our China. I think their contribution is no less than the soldiers guarding the border with guns. Indeed, it's me who can't keep up with the times. The future belongs to you young people. Qian Ming, come in and take Chen Guang to go through the formalities. You will be comrades in arms from now on. General Tan gave a few more instructions before bidding farewell to Chen Guang and leaving. He brushed past Qian Ming and walked out of the room. For some reason, Old Man Tan, who was a man of virtue and prestige and a veteran of the battlefield, had an illusion in his heart. It was as if the person he had just negotiated with wasn't a young man, but a peak sovereign scepter expert who stood at the peak of the world and held the life and death of billions of people in his hands. He shivered slightly and shook his head. He was puzzled. So strange. Why would I think that? When Chen Guangjing saw this scene, he turned his head slightly and looked out the window. Invincible, it's so lonely. I don't want to take out right Chen's status to talk to people. It's all because you seduced me. Instructor Chen Guang, this way. Qian Ming's head hung very low. He didn't dare to look Chen Guang in the eyes. Chen Guang patted his shoulder. Old Qian, don't call me Instructor Chen in the future. Call me Brother Guang. Yes, Instructor Chen. Half an hour later, Chen Guang changed into a military uniform and appeared on the training ground. Looking at the thousands of people below, he was a little drunk. Old Man Tan was too good at maximizing resources. He'd pulled everyone in the training camp over here. What happened to the special elite training? If I'm not wrong, the people standing on the far left of the square formation are the cooks. Looking at their greasy faces and palms stained with oil, did they just walk out of the kitchen? Chen Guang pointed at the group of people suspected to be the cooks. He pulled Qian Ming over and asked. This group of people, oh, old Li from the cooks. Li Big Mouth. Qian Ming said casually. They really are from the cooks. Chen Guang turned his head and looked resentfully at General Tan, who was sitting in the distance as a spectator. There were many middle-aged people around him. The epaulets and bars on their chests weren't as spectacular as Old Man Tan's. They were mostly middle-level leaders in Shun's special training camp. Looking at the microphone in front of him, then looking at the many soldiers standing ramrod straight below the stage, looking at him with incomparable eagerness, Chen Guang began to feel awkward. I just agreed readily, but the problem is, how should I teach them? Thinking about it carefully, I really have no clue what to do. So many people are staring at me. Damn Old Man Tan, don't look at me with that face full of expectation. I'm a little confused. At this moment, He Zi rushed over from the side, holding a laptop in his hand. Instructor Chin, why don't we put down the teaching materials first? Teaching materials? What the hell? How come I don't know about it? Chen Guang was puzzled. He Zi laughed mischievously, it's those videos you posted on the internet. I watched them all. They're really awesome. Many of my comrades don't know about it. Everyone is just obeying orders out of habit, that's why they're willing to stand here and wait for class. But if they watch your videos and documentaries first, then they'll understand how awesome you are. Their mood will be different and the effect of your teaching will be much better. Chen Guang touched his mouth. He felt that what He Zi said was reasonable, but he was a little embarrassed. Although the old man's skin is thick, it's really not right for me to talk about my documentary in front of others. In the sea of moment, I can barely be completely shameless, but here, there's Shuai Lin looking at me eagerly from the side. I'm very shy. Brother Chen Guang, why don't you go rest first? I've watched your entire competition, why don't you let me do it? At this moment, Shuai Lin walked over. Chen Guang secretly gave him a thumbs up. No wonder he was the first disciple that the old man took a liking to. His eyes were really good. He quickly turned and ran to the shady area where Old Man Tan and the others were gathered. He lifted the heavenly holy grail, crossed his legs, and drank his tea. Colleagues, I'm Shuai Lin from the 5 Capital Military Region. Many of you know me, so I'll just introduce myself. But today, I'll be talking about my instructor, Mr. Chen Guang. I'll have to start from a big case that happened 3 months ago. I'm sure many colleagues have already guessed that it's the Shattered World Organization's invasion of the 5 Capital. On the other side, Shuai Lin had already brought out Chen Guang's past and confidently talked about it. On this side, Chen Guang came looking for Old Man Tan. Little Chen, how do you plan to teach? Chen Guang cursed in his heart that this old man didn't trust him, but he really had no clue. He could only smile and drink his tea while pretending to be profound. He pointed at the soldiers standing upright under the hot sun and said indifferently, General Tan, haven't you noticed that my special training has already begun? The so-called acting mysterious was referring to what Chen Guang was doing at this moment. He only had an unfathomable look, and everything was said without words. In any case, Old Man Tan didn't understand. Perhaps in his heart, Xian Qin and I had the same thoughts. In short, he just had the attitude of, you people from the court don't understand the affairs of the pugilistic world. As expected, when General Tan heard this, his eyes narrowed. He looked at the 1,000 soldiers below who were completely focused on Shuai Lin's story. So that's how it is. Amazing. Impressive. Chen Guang chuckled. You flatter me, you flatter me. Actually, he had no idea how Old Man Tan thought he was impressive, but that wasn't important. It was fine as long as he could fool people. He coughed lightly again and said, General Tan, forgive me for speaking bluntly. Although these 1,000 or so people below can be considered elites in the military, in my eyes, there really isn't much to be done. What do you mean? My skills are based on pure talent. It's not something that can be learned just by having a physical fitness up to standard. It's more about the root bone. Yes, that's right, the root bone. This so-called root bone isn't just the muscles, bones, and skin. It also involves some mysterious things that I can't explain to you. You won't understand even if I explain more. Although old Master Guang's acting skills were terrible, his bragging skills were top-notch. His empty words and random concepts were top-notch at fooling people. He said 1,000 and 10,000 things, but the summary was as follows. Your people don't have talent, so even if I teach them, they might not be able to learn, and most likely won't be able to learn. As for the reason, I've already said, it's because they don't have talent. To put it more plainly, they don't have the root bone. Don't ask me what the root bone is. You won't understand even if I tell you. In short, don't blame me if your people can't learn it even if I teach them with all my might. He had already started to shift the blame. Your people can't learn it because they're too weak. Don't blame the old man for not trying his best. Old Man Ten felt a little lost after listening, but it wasn't that he couldn't understand. After all, the abilities that Qin Guang had displayed in the World Darts Championship or in the videos he had filmed were completely beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. Extraordinary people would do extraordinary things. They couldn't be judged by common sense. General Tan sighed. Sigh, I understand. It's fine. Little Chen, I understand what you mean. Let's try our luck. He looked at the warriors below silently, his heart filled with bitterness and hatred. Those inherited forces that had mastered inner force were really detestable. Each one of them was more difficult to deal with than the other, so much so that they still hadn't made any breakthroughs in this aspect. If inner force could be popularized among the modern soldiers, how wonderful would that be? It was already so difficult to cooperate with the Thousand Despair sect, which was so desolate that it was almost lost, not to mention the other rumored forces, such as the Wen clan that everyone knew was near Yanjing, but they were nowhere to be seen. Chapter 542. An ugly daughter-in-law would eventually meet her parents-in-law, and Qin Guang couldn't delay the time forever. General Tan and others were determined to sit here until they saw the special training course of the new chief instructor, Qin Guang. They didn't want to let Master Guang, who only wanted to fool them, have sores on his buttocks and be restless. About an hour later, Xuelin waved his hand heavily and said loudly, "As you can see, our new chief instructor, Qin Guang, is young. Our new chief instructor, Qin Guang, might be young, but he has already pushed the art of darts to the strongest realm in human history. Even in the legends, it was absolutely impossible to find an expert like him who could shoot with such ease. Now, I ask you, do you look forward to the opportunity to learn the unique skills of the chief instructor? Tell me loudly. Do you look forward to it?" Xuelin was very famous in the military circle of the 5 capitals, not because of who he was, but because of his daring style and the brilliant achievements of his team. Even in Yanjing, thousands of kilometers away, Xuelin's name was also very loud. After all, he had been among the best in the military competitions many times. His ability to express himself was also quite learned from his family. He flattered Qin Guang from all angles. He praised Qin Guang's skills, strength, eyesight and comprehensive personal strength. Even Qin Guang himself blushed when he heard it. Qin Guang said, "After listening to you, I feel that I can fight a team alone. No one can stop me. I want to save the world and liberate all mankind." He himself was like this, not to mention the thousands of soldiers under the stage. Everyone raised their arms and shouted in unison, looking forward to it. "Next, let's welcome the chief instructor, Qin Guang." Xuelin shouted loudly, moved his body, and made a leading gesture. Alas, let's go. No matter. Chen Guang braced himself to stand on the stage, looking at the thousands of soldiers looking at him with extremely fanatical eyes, especially Li Dezue from the cookhouse. The small eyes on his chubby face were almost shining. How should I teach him? He took a deep breath and told himself, Chen Guang, don't panic, don't be nervous. You are a fraud. That's right. Right now, you're like Einstein who was invited to an elementary school. Don't show any signs of fear. Just say whatever you want, as long as it's something they don't understand. I had to come up with a complete plan to trick them. First, I had to show off my skills on the spot to pave the way for my next trick. I'm not good with words. The first step was to find a suitable excuse for the sudden change in his speech style. 1,000 words are not as good as throwing a dart. As soon as he finished speaking, he took out a dart from his trouser pocket and threw it forward. The extremely sharp dart streaked across a distance of more than 100 meters and fiercely nailed into the doorframe of a door in the distance. Someone drew a hook on the door, and my dart hit the tail of the hook. Xuelin, go take a photo and then put it on the big LED screen behind me. 3 minutes later, thousands of elite soldiers and cookhouse members of Shun's special training camp stared at the photo on the huge LED screen. They all opened their mouths wide and couldn't speak for a long time. It was the dart that Chen Guang had thrown just now. Not only was the entire head of the dart stuck in the wooden board, but it was also inserted into the tail of a curved hook the size of a fingernail. At a distance of more than 100 meters, he couldn't hit it with such accuracy, and it was even outdoors. This was not an indoor game like the World Darts Championship. Crossing such a long distance, his strength was beyond the comprehension of ordinary people. Moreover, he had to consider the influence of the air and wind, but he was still confident that he could hit the target the moment he threw the dart. In addition, what's wrong with your eyes? Ordinary people can't see clearly at such a distance, okay? Even the sharpshooters in the army wouldn't dare to say that they could control the accuracy of a sniper rifle below the millimeter level from such a distance. Are you still human? Everyone, including General Tan, was shocked. Seeing is believing. No matter how much you see it on TV, it's still not as shocking as seeing it in person. General Tan's heart was lifted. This kid's ultimate skill really lived up to its name. No, it's even stronger than the rumors. He was just fooling around in the World Championship. He had never shown his true abilities. I underestimated him. Giving him a special identity will definitely be worth the price. Chen Guang keenly observed everyone's expression, especially Old Tan's intoxicated and satisfied face. Very good, this is the effect I wanted. He let out a long sigh of relief. The first step of the deception plan was very successful. Next, I had to say a very pretentious line to see if I could fool these people, especially Old Man Tan. What I said next was very important. The second step is to completely pull this matter into metaphysics. If you can't learn it, it's because you don't have enough talent or fate. It's definitely not because I didn't teach you anything. As everyone can see, and as Xuelin said, I am indeed the strongest dart thrower in the entire history of mankind. I have absolute confidence in this. Even a robot can't be more accurate than me with a gun. Everyone nodded, not feeling that he was bragging at all. I'm also very willing to pass on my skills to you, so I accepted the responsibility of the chief instructor that General Tan gave me. Everyone is responsible for the rise and fall of the country. Everyone's eyes became more and more fanatical. But I can't guarantee that any of you will be able to learn it. Everyone was in an uproar. Your aptitude is too poor. I really can't be satisfied. Other than that, this kind of skill that surpasses the limits of human beings is more about one word, enlightenment. If hard work can lead to greatness, then what's the use of geniuses in this world? Only true geniuses can grasp that 1% inspiration after putting in 99% of their sweat. First, he used the appropriate foreshadowing to strike everyone's confidence. This was exactly what Chen Guang did. Next, it was the most crucial time to fabricate his skills. Next, you have to remember every word that I'm about to say. My special training will never teach you how to hold a dart, how to throw a dart, and how to exert force. Those are the most inferior skills in the mortal world. Relying on these training, you can only become an amateur dart athlete at best, which is 9 levels lower than my realm. If you want to learn my skills, the only way is to use your heart. You have to let yourself believe that your dart will definitely hit the target after it is thrown. Only by making the belief in the depths of your heart extremely firm, can you make every organ and every cell in your whole body listen to your command when you throw the dart. Remember my mantra, the heart arrives first, the dart arrives at the same time, calm your mind, and sharp your eyes like an eagle. If you can do these 4 points, your dart will be invincible. Every time you want to throw a dart, you will see a path. Your dart will follow this path that only exists in your heart, and go straight to the target you want to hit. You have to be extremely, blindly, and downright confident. I'm done. That's the end of the special training. Chen Guang said solemnly, then took out the remaining 11 darts in the dart box in one go, and shot them at the previous door. The 11 darts shot out at the same time, nailing a 5-pointed star on the door, and one of the darts with a red tail was right in the middle of the 5-pointed star. Then, he swung his hands, turned around, and left without any hesitation. He had achieved his goal. It seemed like he was rambling on about a lot of mysterious things, but in fact, he didn't say anything at all. But other people didn't think so. Even General Tan, who was an experienced and knowledgeable person, was completely stunned by his words and the last trick that he revealed. Old Man Tan looked at Chen Guang's back with a complicated expression. Was this the ultimate hidden weapon technique that was even more powerful than the Thousand Despair sect? The heart arrives first, the dart arrives at the same time, calm your mind, and sharp your eyes like an eagle. Truly unfathomable. Truly unfathomable. Commander-in-Chief, how are our people going to practice? A sensible person next to him realized the problem. This chief instructor didn't even say how to practice. General Tan glared. Didn't he just say that he doesn't care to teach these low-level techniques, and we don't have the face to learn them? What we really need to think about is what he said just now, and the indomitable momentum he showed when he threw the dart. Martial arts experts are extraordinary and can't be measured by common sense. Arrange for everyone to train freely today. Everyone should carefully ponder what he said today. Whether you can understand it or not will depend on fate. I hope our people can fight for their dignity. Chen Guang returned to his room and laid on the bed, playing with the ID he cheated from Old Man Tan. He also sighed. I want to be a sincere and upright person so much, but fate makes fools of me, forcing me to be a scammer. Hao Kai was in a good state today, so he managed to muddle through. Is Brother Chen Guang here? At this moment, Shuai Lin's voice came from outside. Chen Guang jumped down, opened the door, and pulled Shuai Lin out. Let's go, take me to the intelligence department. Wait, Brother Chen Guang, wait. The leaders at the police special training area heard about what happened here and want you to go there to give them a lecture. I know you want to investigate people, but it has to be at the police special training area. Okay, let's go. The two walked a few steps, and Chen Guang found that Shuai Lin kept looking at him with a strange expression. Why are you looking at me? To be honest, Brother Chen Guang, you look very handsome in a military uniform. Save it, don't fool me. I don't have the intention to be a soldier. AI. Lin sighed again. Why are you sighing? Lin hesitated and said, in a few days, I'm afraid I won't be able to be a soldier for the rest of my life. What do you mean? Nothing, let's go. Lin suddenly smiled and hid her troubled appearance in the bottom of her heart. Don't be mysterious. The two came to the police special training area side by side. Although it was also located in the special training camp of Shund, it seemed to be a completely different system from the outside. In addition to a slight intersection when entering and exiting, it was almost completely isolated. Chen Guang was not in the mood to visit it. Instead, he asked Lin to ask where Wu Tong was and went straight to find her. As soon as they arrived at the door of the training room, they saw Wu Tong, who was wearing a suit and doing strength training. Without thinking much, Chen Guang strode into the door and said, "Hi." Wu Tong jumped down from the equipment and intimately hugged Chen Guang. She asked, "How did you come in? What's up with you wearing this?" "Nothing, I just came in." Chen Guang greeted her with a smile and looked up and down at Wu Tong. He hadn't seen her for a month, and she had changed a lot. Her skin looked a little darker than before, but it didn't reduce her beauty at all. Her slightly drunk skin brought her a kind of healthy and sunny beauty. Of course, in the final analysis, it was because she had a good foundation. If a good-looking person had a dark spot, it was called sunny beauty. If a good-looking person had a dark spot, it was called bad skin. Her figure had also changed a little. Previously, she was healthy and beautiful, with curves all over her body. After a few months of closed-door training, the parts of her body that should be big had become bigger. It should be because her muscles had become more solid, but her waist was still so slender. In contrast, her devilish S-shaped curve was even more obvious. Even though he was very familiar with her, Chen Guang couldn't help but swallow his saliva. He thought, is this sister's close special training to train her figure? Before she said two words, Wu Tong suddenly covered her mouth, as if she had realized something very important. She quickly let go of Chen Guang's hand and sneakily pulled him away. Let's go, let's go. I'm going to die, I'm going to die. Do you want to die? Wearing this and sneaking in. If you get caught, it's a crime. Wu Tong. Who is this? At this moment, a strong man in a black vest suddenly came over and looked at Chen Guang with a vigilant face. Di Jiang, it's none of your business. Wu Tong's expression changed slightly. She pulled Chen Guang away. Unexpectedly, Di Jiang blocked the entrance of the training room. This is Lin, I know, but as far as I know, he doesn't have the qualifications to enter our police special training area, right? Although he has some privileges in Shund, we have our own rules. Isn't it too much to bring someone in? Where's the discipline? Mind your own business. Go and practice. Wu Tong said stubbornly. Di Jiang keenly sensed Wu Tong's nervousness at the moment. He became aggressive and said, "We're in a closed special training area. It's a confidential unit. I have reason to suspect that you're engaged in espionage." As Di Jiang made a fuss, more and more people gathered in the training room and looked at Chen Guang unkindly. Lin had a headache. The situation didn't seem right. Chen Guang was also puzzled, but he quickly felt relieved. Inviting him to be an instructor was decided by the leaders of the special training area. The so-called elites who were undergoing special training didn't know about it. Besides that, Chen Guang also noticed that there were at least dozens of men in the huge training camp other than Wu Tong. There were only 2 or 3 female police officers, but their appearance was on a completely different level from Wu Tong's. This meant that Wu Tong was a red dot in a sea of greenery. As long as one wasn't blind, they would pay attention to Wu Tong, who was so outstanding. Coupled with the hostile and vigilant look in Di Jiang's eyes when he looked at him, this bro had definitely fallen in love. Chen Guang was right. Wu Tong was straightforward, and her personal strength wasn't any weaker than the male police officers. She was single and unmarried to the public, so her popularity in the training camp had always been high. Among the police elites in the special training area, there were more than one or two who had feelings for her. Among them, Di Jiang was the most obvious and fiercely pursued her. Di Jiang's ability was outstanding, and his family's social status matched Wu Tong's. However, because he was in the special training camp under military management, he had been suppressing his feelings in his heart and hadn't really confessed. He was waiting for the end of the training to be the first to launch a fiercer and more direct attack. Today, Chen Guang had hugged Wu Tong in public. How could he not be anxious? The other people who gathered around might not have acted as outwardly as Di Jiang, but Wu Tong was the flower of the police force. No matter whether this young man was a real soldier or not, or how he got here, they couldn't let him have a good time. Don't even think about snatching food from the tiger's mouth. Di Jiang. Have you had enough? Get out of the way. Wu Tong shouted anxiously. Chapter 543. She became angry out of humiliation. Looking at Wu Tong, who was like an angry lioness, Di Jiang and the other male police officers felt extremely uncomfortable. Wu Tong was a straightforward person. She was usually careless and could be regarded as heroic in the entire police special training area. However, her character was definitely not rude. It could only be said that she did not care about trifles. She usually never argued with others and was well known for being easy to talk to. But today, she actually became angry with everyone because of this young man in military uniform. The relationship between these two people must not be simple. Di Jiang's heart was filled with hatred. This hatred could only be called endless. No wonder Wu Tong had completely ignored all the hints and flirtatious glances he had thrown at her in the past month. He previously thought that she was unromantic, but today he knew that she already had someone in her heart. He was not reconciled. He then turned his face and looked at Chen Guang fiercely. The more he looked at him, the more he couldn't understand. This guy was obviously not a real soldier. Where did he come from? Xuelin's white was a slightly sickly white because of his special body that the sun could not leave black marks on his skin. However, his face still had the signs of being exposed to the sun during training. But this guy, although he looked a little darker than Xuelin, he did not look like a soldier who had been exposed to the sun. He was definitely a young master of a rich family. He looked like a dog in military uniform, but how could he deceive us, the police elites who were famous for our keen observation? The more Di Jiang thought about it, the angrier and angrier he became. He did not care who came first. He only regarded Chen Guang as an outsider who wanted to snatch food from the tiger's mouth, the only bright scenery in the training camp. Fortunately, he still remembered his identity as a public official. If it was someone else who was as angry as him, he would have already punched him. It was not easy for him to barely restrain himself. Chen Guang was blocked by Wu Tong and looked at Di Jiang with great interest. Then he turned his head and looked at the others who were also looking at him with hatred. He thought to himself, if I am not careful, I will be like a tiger in a pack of wolves. You people should be a little more conscious. The one standing in front of you is Wu Tong's nominal younger brother, but in reality, she is his godbrother. Don't treat a bean bun like a dried vegetable. I haven't said anything yet, and you're already stepping on my face. Sister Wu Tong, stay out of this. Chen Guang took a step forward and gently pushed Wu Tong to the side. He stood in front of Di Jiang and raised his head to look at the dark-skinned man. He was a head shorter than Di Jiang, but he didn't lose in terms of aura. All right, you can move aside. Whether I'm a spy or not is not up to you. How I got in is none of your business. If you don't want me to do something, I'll do it anyway. Truth be told, if Qin Guang were to bring out his title as the chief instructor of darts, even if he couldn't scare them to the point of peeing their pants, he could at least get them to calm down and consider what's going on. After all, they're all adults, not kids. Besides, he was brought in by Xuelin. Even if it was against the rules, it was not up to the students to deal with it. The discipline department would deal with it. Di Jiang was still suppressing his anger. He opened his arms and blocked the door, refusing to budge an inch. This guy is really stubborn. Qin Guang pinched his chin. You're an old man. Don't act like a little kid, okay? Look at how angry you are. I feel ashamed for you. It reminds me of my friend who stole my lollipop when I was 5. Qin Guang's repeated provocation finally made Di Jiang explode. He glared at him. Are you done? Qin Guang still looked calm. I haven't said anything yet. Aren't you the one who has been throwing a tantrum? Do you need me to find a mirror to help you see how childish you are now? As he spoke, he turned his head and put his arm around Wu Tong's shoulder. Sister Wu Tong, I really thought you were practicing your skills in some closed special training. It turns out you're in a kindergarten. Is this the so-called elite of the police? Di Jiang's breathing gradually quickened. He was about to lose control. In fact, he understood everything. Of course, he knew that he was being unreasonable. But he just couldn't swallow it. His mind kept replaying the scene of Wu Tong and Qin Guang hugging each other affectionately when they met. Now, he saw him put his arm around Wu Tong's shoulder in public. His lungs were about to explode. The string in Di Jiang's mind snapped. He swung his fist at Qin Guang's face. He looked like he couldn't wait to punch Qin Guang to the ground. Wu Tong was shocked at first, but she immediately calmed down. She didn't panic at all. Xuelin was about the same level as Wu Tong. She knew Qin Guang's strength very well. Maybe Qin Guang would be defeated by Di Jiang in other military skills. But in terms of fist skills, 10 Di Jiangs might not be a match for Qin Guang. Di Jiang looked like he had lost his mind because of anger. But when he swung his arm, he was very alert and looked at Wu Tong's expression. He thought to himself, you'd better come up with some melodramatic plot, so I can make a fuss. During the closed special training, you let your boyfriend sneak into the special training camp. Such a serious disciplinary problem is enough to make you two suffer. With Wu Tong's background, it might not be a big deal. But her little boyfriend, no matter who he was, would have a good ending. But why doesn't Wu Tong look nervous at all? Doesn't she know how hard my fist is? There's no reason. Bang! While Di Jiang was puzzled, his fist was pinched by the fingers of Qin Guang's left hand. He tried to exert force forward, but he couldn't move at all. The scene at this time looked very strange. Di Jiang was maintaining the posture of exerting force forward. His movements were standard, and his body was stretched, which was very convenient for him to exert force. The muscles and veins on his right hand were bulging, full of power. But Qin Guang's right hand was behind his back, and his left hand was raised in a Z shape in a very awkward way. His back was straight, and his body was as steady as Mount Tai. His left hand seemed to be holding a balloon lightly. How could it be? Di Jiang roared in his heart. What the hell does this person do? He looks like a pretty boy, but what the hell is his strength? Is he a monster? Big question marks kept appearing in Di Jiang's heart. When he looked at Qin Guang again, his eyes were a little strange. He's really a spy. Everyone, let's do it together. Catch him. Di Jiang growled while clenching his teeth. Only a series of muffled roars came from his mouth, and blue veins as thick as a little finger spread from the bottom of his neck. Chen Guang still didn't move a single inch. Although the others felt that Di Jiang seemed to have gone a bit too far, it seemed like it was not the time to help reason and not help family. Moreover, just now, Chen Guang had called Di Jiang a little brat, which made these colleagues who had been with Di Jiang day and night for the past few months feel unfair for him. You're not an old man, you're just a little brat who still smells of his mother's milk. Where did you get the big face to flaunt your seniority here? Therefore, everyone looked at each other and moved forward one after another. They were really going to make a move. All of you, stop. Wu Tong's almond-shaped eyes were wide open. She was completely infuriated. Shuai Lin also didn't care about any discipline issues. She slightly bowed and got into a fighting posture. All of you, save it. You don't have guns. What right do you have to fight me? Right at this moment, Chen Guang suddenly grinned. He suddenly exerted force in his hands. He was going to make a move for real. How could the strength of his Qilin arm be compared to that of an ordinary person like Di Jiang? He didn't seem to explode, but Di Jiang uncontrollably clenched his right fist. The next moment, Chen Guang's left hand grabbed Di Jiang's fist tightly. His right hand stretched out like lightning and pinched Di Jiang's waist in the shape of a claw. He exerted force in both of his arms at the same time. Get up. Di Jiang struggled with all his might and waved his hands and feet, but it was useless. His whole body was lifted up horizontally by Chen Guang like a piece of wood. Whether it was his right hand or waist, it was as if they were tightly clamped by a machine. He was in excruciating pain, but he couldn't break free. Get lost. Chen Guang shouted again. Di Jiang, the muscular man who weighed more than 100 kilograms, was thrown out like a shot put. He flew more than 10 meters and landed on the sports cushion with a bang. Even though he landed on the cushion, he was still spinning in the air until he was dizzy and dizzy. He felt waves of tearing pain coming from his waist and spine. He didn't know whether his injuries were serious or not. Can this farce end now? Next time, I should directly throw you out of the window. Who else? You can come up and try. After throwing Di Jiang away, Chen Guang looked around. His tone wasn't particularly arrogant. Reality proved that louder people didn't mean they were powerful. The other police special training area students looked at each other awkwardly. They didn't know whether they should go up or not. Di Jiang's individual strength ranked at least in the top 3 among the people present. His pure strength was the best among everyone, but he was thrown away like a toy without the slightest resistance. Moreover, his opponent had obviously shown mercy. Di Jiang had landed on the cushion from such a long distance. His control was so precise that it could only mean that his strength was comparable to Di Jiang's. There was no doubt that he had crushed Di Jiang. What are you guys doing? Just when the elite police students were in a difficult position, a stern shout came from outside the training room. Everyone turned their heads and looked behind them. They saw 3 or 4 middle-aged men in uniforms walking quickly behind Old Tan. The one who shouted was a lean middle-aged man beside Old Tan. Chen Guang curled his lips indifferently. Fine, they're finally here. I haven't had enough yet, but it looks like I won't be able to fight anymore. Di Jiang had already jumped up from the cushion. He rushed out and complained, Director Di, this person is of unknown origin. He illegally snuck into our place. I suspect he's a spy. Director Di. Chen Guang raised his eyebrows. No wonder Di Jiang was so fearless. He was the local tyrant here. These 2 people both had the surname Di. If they weren't his father, then they had to be his relatives, right? You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.